Okay. Oh, oh, let me ask you. She knows how to do it. She's a school teacher.
But you have to sing it.
Okay, here we go. Good evening and welcome to the City Council regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, and it's approximately 6:30 in the evening. And as you can see, we do have a quorum. All City Council members are present. And I've asked Council Member Danielle Bolton to please lead us in the pledge. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You know, before we continue, I just thought it would be appropriate if we had a moment of silence for the victims of the July 4th flooding in the Hill Country. And I know they're suffering terribly, but at least let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. We move then to citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens in our chamber this evening that would like to address the council? Please come forward and state your name and where you reside, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Okay, we have 2 people coming up, so we'll first hear from Ms. Chasin and then our gentleman who stood up as well.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Mayor, Council.
You bet. Good evening.
Tina Chasin, Forest Oak Subdivision. I don't know, did you move the site for the fireworks display? No? It was fabulous this year. I could see it from the pool. It was terrific. So thank you for that. If this is our last hurrah, it was a good one. I was just slightly disappointed that there was no moment of silence for what was going on from that morning at the introduction. And it was just so sad for me that nothing was said, a moment of silence, while all this was happening. And that was my only thing that I can say that was bad about the 4th of July. I was disappointed.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know that every council member, including myself, said something about the flooding. I don't think I realized what had gone on because I'm telling you, I wasn't connected with social media. We were so busy that day. I didn't realize the magnitude of what had gone on. I really didn't until the next day, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah,
so,
it was unbelievable. So I was, the mentioning was fine, but I just thought,
yeah, I didn't think about it, and I'm so sorry, but I did think about it tonight.
Celebrations took place on Independence Day for what was going on, the travesty, the disaster. It was horrible, and I just felt disappointed in my city for not saying something in a moment of silence. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. If you'll please state your name and where you reside, just generally in the city.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Mark Broglie, 6100 Rue des Sommiers, San Antonio, Texas, Leon Valley.
Mark, would you spell your last name, please?
Brogley.
Gley. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Broglie.
Yeah, my dad bought the house back around 1974, 75. Yeah. And my mom just recently died, so I'm the only one there. I have, so far, I don't know why I haven't gotten my 3rd water bill. I know it's a problem with SAWS. We got SAWS water, Leon Valley sewer. From the first bill in my name, after this, if you guys do the averaging, I think you do. SAWS does the averaging from November to February, something like that. I've heard about that. I've gotten a lot of lip service between SAWS and Leon Valley. A lot of times they don't even call me back. Between my first bill and my second bill, got them in my pocket. the sewer service charge was 17 and change. My mom's, I looked at a lot of hers, 15 and change to 17 and change for the sewer charge. She was one lady. I'm more frugal than her. Less than 10 gallons. I'm fine with saws about the water usage. And I've come to the conclusion, getting ping pong back and forth between the two, that you guys set the rates. Why my first saws bill, sewer service charge went from 17 and change, second bill, 37 and change. That's ridiculous. That's over $1 a flush. I compost everything. I save rain barrels. I got photos of all this stuff. Nobody's more frugal than me. I cannot get any answers as to why there's no meter on the sewer. There's a water meter. And, I mean, I'm gonna prove how little water usage, and I don't understand this thing about the averaging. Why my sewer, that's why I'm here, is why my sewer charge went, more than doubled from the first, and I don't know where the third bill is. I gotta call Saws. I gotta give you guys money. Please send me a bill. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they have me paperless. I don't know. But I just want an answer. Why my bill, it's a ripoff. I mean, I'm getting the shaft.
Okay. Let me
So
ask
I'm going
Dr.
to
Caldera
ask,
to
if you could do
address
me a
that.
favor, if you have your bills on you, I'm going to ask Crystal Miranda, see the person in green, to make copies for me. I have to do a little research and look into your account, and so if you leave your phone number with her as well, I'll make sure I give you a call back.
Okay, so I'm done.
Yes.
You're done as far as
That's
the
it.
sewer goes, but if you meet with her, I can't give you answers until I look into your account.
But I'm done doing that.
So yes, she will meet you. She's going out, and we'll get back to you next week.
Thank you, Mr. Brogley. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. All right. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Okay. Seeing no one else, we will go to presentations. 3.1, presentation of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association TMCA 2025-2026 Municipal Clerks Office Achievement Excellence Award. And Miss Postle, my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, I just before you start, it said in our packet, or my packet, that only 45 of the 1,225 municipalities received this award. Congrats. And we had 12 standards, which you're going to go over, and you excelled in all of them. And then you said that you had a 238 packet if we wanted to review it. And I'm like, 238 pages, my goodness. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not my award, it's the city's award.
Well, but you did the work to,
Well,
right?
again, and it's not just my work, it's a group effort.
okay, well, that's great.
So,
I love that.
yes, the TMCA started this award in 2020, or you would have had it sooner. No, I don't know about that. But we tried, but this is the first year, because just FOIA was the last thing we added, that and maybe a policy. You had to be with a system like just FOIA for at least 2 years before you could even apply for this to be considered one of the things. So I'm not going to read all this off, but these are the standards that you have to meet. Again, we did meet 12 of the 12 for the first time. I think last time when we got this award 2 years ago, we were shy of maybe 1 or 2. But this time we met them all, and this award is for 2 years. So you won't see me here next year, but you will hopefully the following. And that's pretty much it. I would say that this city has come a long way since I started it in 2014. Got to give credit where credit's due. You know, she's mean. She expects a certain amount from us, and between her and I guess the work ethic my dad instilled in me, you know, we got it. So we're good.
That's great. Well, I've got this beautiful I've never seen a plaque this big. My gosh.
It's Texas. They do big.
Yeah, look at this. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking of giving Regina awards after awards, it's just like a piece of paper.
That's how the TMCA sends it. So yeah.
Come on down, Sandra. Municipal Clerks Association Incorporated, thank you, confers the Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement of Excellence Award upon the Office of the City Secretary, City of Leon Valley. Recognizing excellence is the effective and efficient management of resources in the Municipal Clerk's Office. In testimony whereof the undersigned have subscribed their names and acknowledged the evidence that all requirements for this award or the award have been fulfilled. Done this 24th day of April 2025, and it's signed by three very important people in the Texas Council and the citizens and of course the
Thank you.
Okay. Moving then to presentation 3.2, presentation and discussion of the monthly financial report ending June 30th, 2025. We have Carol Garing, our finance director, here this evening to present. Good afternoon or good evening, Carol.
Mayor,
So good to
Council.
see you.
Likewise.
Okay.
So let me just start here. So we are now in June. We have only 3 months left to finish the fiscal year. But today we'll review the budget to actual results for fiscal year 25 and also compare revenues and expenditures between 2024 and 2025. I'll highlight significant variances and provide insights into the activities driving these increases or decreases. So starting with the general fund and the property tax, year-to-date ad valorem, you'll notice that there's a 2% lower compared to the same period as last year. However, collections are still ongoing. We're still receiving money from the ad valorem even today. And according to the reports from the tax collector, we continue to maintain a strong historical collection through our city. Now, on sales tax, the year-to-date collections are 50.9%, matching the same period as last year. We are currently below the 75% target, but trends are consistent with prior performance. While we are not yet at the 75% of the budget, we are expecting to be close as at the year end we do the accruals and we factor in those 2 months of accruals.
But we don't finish the sales tax in November. Isn't that why
Right.
it's not at 75?
So this one is
Yeah.
showing April.
April. Okay. Yes, Councilor Campos.
Carol, thank you for the presentation. Any concerns that our trend for sales tax collections is going down or is it going up?
So for this one, for June, the year-to-date is at 1.32% increase.
Oh, an increase. Okay.
So we're still trying to.
But the increase, I don't understand. How do you come up with that?
With the increase, so sales tax, remember the sales tax is divided between the general fund, street maintenance, and the economic development department. So once you add all of those together and then we compare with where we were on last year, we see the difference of 1.32%.
But here we're below by $22,000.
Yeah, because
if we're
this
just
one is-
comparing apples with apples, right?
This one is comparing to the budget, the 1.32.
Well, I'm looking at the fiscal year 2025
Actual.
actual against the 2024 year-to-date actual. Those 2 columns.
Yes, but so the way that is divided on the general fund, the street and the maintenance, probably the street maintenance or the EDC receive a slight more money. Now, when you see that, you won't see the difference of 1.34 if you subtract the 2 percentages, because those 2 percentages are comparing to budget, not comparing to the year-to-date. I can send you the spreadsheet that we keep where we have the amounts and how we come up with 1.32%.
Okay, thank you.
Now, moving on the franchise taxes, the franchise revenue remains unchanged from previous quarter as we have not yet received the second quarter for fiscal year 2025. That one should be coming in close to the end of July. Now, there's only one exception. We do receive one monthly franchise, which is the Tiger Sanitation, but usually monthly is going to be between 2,000 and 3,000. So that's, if you look at the May monthly financial compared to June, you'll see that those differences only going to be $2,000 and $3,000 until we receive the big franchises, which are on quarterly basis. Now, on the license and permits, the revenue this year has been primarily driven by permits, tree mitigation, municipal court fees. On permits, so far we have received $203,000. For tree mitigation, $277,000. And for municipal courts, we're at $235,000. So those are the three biggest revenue sources under that category.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Campos.
For those numbers that you've explained, they don't total up to $1.4 million.
No, those are just the biggest ones. Inside of the license permits and fines, we have the breakdown of like occupational, it's not occupational, the occupation and food permits. We have a lot of little permits that they're going to add up to that 1.4. But those three are the biggest ones that we have on those category.
So what would be that over $500,000 difference between 24 and 25?
I can look at it tomorrow morning and send you the difference, just because right now I just wrote down the biggest ones, but I can tell you if I look into more depth, what is it that are the accounts that are the difference.
So it's going to be on your building permit stuff. We're building new houses, and so that's where you're seeing the increase. So you have Senna and coming into play, and so the Trilogy has houses being built, and so that's where the biggest difference is. Those houses are being built in this fiscal year versus last fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to move to the next slide just to go over miscellaneous revenue really quickly. I just want just a quick reminder, miscellaneous revenues includes items such as the land of the sale proceeds and all the city vehicles that we have auctioned throughout the year, which is the 1.9. Inside of the miscellaneous revenue of 175, we have a bunch of little accounts too. Just to mention the biggest ones, inside of the 175,000, we have the pool revenue. We started receiving a lot of pool revenue once we opened the pools back in May, I want to say.
End of May.
So far, for pool revenue, we received $26,000. Then we also have the credit card processing fees for $38,000. The rental of the Kingman House for $20,000. So all of those big accounts are inside of the 175.
Okay.
I just don't break it down because there's so many inside, so we just put it's a catch-all, basically, account. But I didn't want to give you a breakdown of which are the biggest ones that you're going to see on the 175. Now, moving on to the expenditures for the year. Our year-to-date expenditures are at 55.2% overall. They are below the 75% target and slightly ahead of last year, which is 53.3%. Most departments are on track with core areas like police, fire, public works, and library spending steadily in the mid to 60% range. We have a few departments above target due to timing costs, such as information technology, municipal court, and impound lot. Now, for the lower spending departments, which are planning and zoning, economic development, special events, and parks recreation, for planning and zoning, it's at 34.9%, which is below to target, but it's consistent to last year's spendings. That one, it goes hand in hand with how much we have received, how many permits we have, and how much they're spending as they go. For parks and recreation, it's at 13.6%. That one is below because on the capital project, the hike and bike, we are still in the engineering phase of the project, so we haven't gone to the construction phase of the project. On economic development and special events, we're also below target. These are reflecting of timing and seasonal factors. Overall spending is controlled and aligned with expectations.
Okay, I just had a question. I guess I'm just trying to figure out why we have an increase in the fines due to the housing, but yet we don't see it reflecting in planning and zoning
Usually
with
because we
permits.
receive the revenue first, and then they go ahead and go to the permit, and then we receive the invoices.
So it's
and that
behind.
depends on the vendor.
So it's
how long-
behind.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they take longer to invoice us, and
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they wait
Okay.
until they have 3 or 4, and then before we actually have to expend
Okay, I was just trying
fees
to
for, like,
rectify that.
sometimes, like, even like on attorney's fees, sometimes they don't give us the following month until 2 months later.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of when we receive the invoice. And some of their contracts for My Permits Now and some of their expenditures don't come until the end of the fiscal year. We're trying to line it up to the beginning. So like information technology, you'll see he pays a lot of his big contracts in October. So we're trying to make that shift in all the departments, but some of them are still lagging. So you'll see the majority of her spending come more towards the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. And then the Parks and Recreation, that's tied into the hike and bike trail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the council? All right.
And so now, moving to water, sewer, and stormwater funds. Overall, the budget to actual revenue is tracking closely with last year, with total revenue only about $130,000 lower than fiscal year 2024 at this point. Now, water and sewer sales combined are $212,000 higher than last year, which reflects steady demand despite milder weather and recent rainfall, likely impacting usage slightly. The main difference in total revenue comes from the miscellaneous income. As you see, we had $358 on fiscal year 24, and this year we had $9,000. In fiscal year, we had 2 grants: the CDBG grant, which we received as year-to-date on 2024, $245,000, and $100,000 coming from the Burke County reimbursement grant. So those 2 grants that we received last year, we haven't received this year. We only have the CDBG, which is tied to the El Verde water line that we just signed, I think, a couple of months
El
ago.
Verde? I thought the El Verde was the 1.3 million.
Has
So-
a CDB grant attached to it.
From the county for El Verde. But I thought we got another CDBG grant, did we not? Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay,
No,
all right. The Wurzbach, so this is the Wurzbach one. Okay, thank you.
we haven't received any reimbursements for those because we're still in the engineering process. So once you start the construction, those are the only expenditures that you will get reimbursed.
Okay, thank you.
Now, going into the expenditures, the increase in water expenditures this year is largely due to the inclusion of water rights purchases, as noted in the explanation below. These water rights are being funded in part through current revenue, as well as reserves from the water supply and the impact fees that we receive. Sewer system is currently at 43.8%, which is lower than last year's at 50.6%. Spending is expected to increase in the second half as projects are moving forward. Stormwater is tracking at 12.3%. This is primarily due to the Lake Capital, our main project that we're also trying to push towards the end of the fiscal year to complete. Now, moving into the community center. The revenues are high this
Pretty
year,
good.
but all of them are still based on demand. Now, hotel and motel tax is lower than the 75% because we receive quarterly payments for the hotel and motel tax, and we have not received the second quarter because it's due until July 15th. So they still have until July 15th for them to make that payment. That's why you only see 27,000. On the expenditures, they remain below the 75% mark, with the exception of the capital outlay, which we went ahead and bought all the chairs at one time, so that should be it.
Okay. Councilor Campos has a question or comment.
Sure.
I just had a comment, and I wanted to thank Crystal Miranda. I think she's primary, if I'm not saying this correctly, primarily responsible for renting out the community
Yes,
center
she is.
and the conference center. The revenue is doing fantastic, so
Yeah.
my hat's off to her, so thank you, your staff for
Yeah, that's why we wanted
concentrating
to
on that.
break it down separately so you guys can see the work that she's putting behind.
Sure. Thank you again.
On the EDC department, revenue is comparable to the prior year. This is the same explanation as the general fund. We're behind on the sales tax 2 months. That's why the percentage is so below compared to the target percentage. But once we reach November, as the mayor was saying, those 2 months are going to be accrual back into the fiscal year 25. On the expenditures, they're a little higher than last year. Lower than last year, but they're still comparable. And sometimes most of the expenditures that this department have is towards the end of the year, so we're just going to have to see the timing. On the impound lot, revenue is still high, it's slightly higher than the 75%, and there's an increase compared to last year. Now, this is because we have done more auctions throughout the year, and probably we have more vehicles, given that now we have the impound lot behind the City Hall.
So those fees of $95,000 reflect how many auctions that we've held this year?
Auctions are the 76,000. Those are how many?
Oh, the 76,000, I'm sorry.
The
Yeah, that's what I mean.
95 is just the cars that we impounded.
That you impound, that you,
And they have to pay.
yeah, they have to pay $95, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Expenditures within the 75% mark, with the exception of capital outlay that we went ahead and completed the
But do we
impound.
know how many auctions we've had for 76, and how many do we have left for the fiscal year?
We have one in January and one in June, and
Okay.
we usually have three during the year, but
Three.
that's depending on.
Okay.
It depends
so-
on how many cars we actually have
Okay.
that can be auctioned. We're not going to
Okay.
have an auction if we only have 5 cars. So we try to make sure we have
Okay.
multiple things to auction off before
Okay.
we enter into an auction.
All
So
right,
it's
so at
dependent.
least one more, probably.
Yes, we
Okay.
probably will have
All
one
right.
more.
Very
Hopefully.
good, thank you.
Cross our fingers. Maybe.
Now, moving to the last slide, the red light camera. Red light camera revenue has decreased $500,000 compared to year-to-date of 2024. This decline is both in issuance of tickets and the payment. Both of those are contributing to the overall decrease on the revenue. Overall expenditures are trending with the 75%, so we're just going to finish close to the target at the end of the year.
Okay, so can I ask, that traffic safety expenditures, is that money that we're taking from that fund in order, explain that to me. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I wanted.
So the red
because
light
I-
camera is the department that we're going to pay first.
Yeah,
So if you
that's
look
right.
at down below here, that's going to be the first one that we pay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then whatever we have left of the 50% that we're going to get from the state, that's what we're going to fund the traffic safety with that amount left over.
Mhm. Okay.
So right now, we're tracking at loss of $235,000.
So, where do we get that money to cover that?
Your
From the
reserve.
fund.
Your
Our reserve,
Your
so
reserve fund.
I
For that
noticed-
account.
I noticed a couple of slides into the presentation, you have the balances.
Yes.
Okay, so does
one.
that mean that red light camera safety traffic fund is 944, and we're taking the 235 from that
So far, yes.
so far? So really,
And I think it's a little bit less because these are the fund balances for 930, and you still have, like, if you get your flock cameras, there was a budget adjustment. So that 944 is slightly less. This is as of 9/30/2024.
Yeah, these are the audited
oh,
numbers.
These are the audited numbers.
Okay.
We're not-
so
it's-
those are not the true
The
balances.
Correct. And so it's we have different budget adjustments throughout
Mm-hmm.
the year, and so it depends on what your reserve fund
Mm.
is looking like. But you haven't had a whole lot of budget adjustments in the red light camera, so it's a good indicator as what you have over there. And so as we've been going through the budget, I show y'all what we estimate for the following year. Right now, I'm showing that we're taking I think almost close to $300,000 from your reserve to cover the cost for next year. So your reserve amount for red light cameras has dropped drastically, if you remember going through the budget that I've been going through with y'all.
But well, long-term, it's not sustaining, though.
So it's not gonna, no, it's
If
not
we
gonna be
don't,
sustainable.
yeah, I
But
mean,
again,
do something.
that's why I've cautioned y'all throughout the budget. That's why I kept a high reserve in that amount, because you were either gonna have to pay for police officers at some point or cover the cost. And so that's what's happening.
Did you have something? Yeah, that was your point, too.
That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
highlight, that we're
right.
eating through this balance. And as this revenue starts going down, we still need to fund these positions, and they will come from our general fund, which
Most likely.
is very tight, as we've disclosed already. So that's not in tonight's agenda, but
No.
just to remind our citizens who are here and watching.
That just makes it clearer for me as to where we're getting that money. So, okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Carol. I
Oh, thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Is that the last slide? No, you wanted to show the
Oh, we
balances,
just had the fund balances. These are the
Okay,
audited
but as
numbers.
of 9:30.
Yep.
Okay.
And that concludes my
Okay,
presentation.
that's it.
Thank
All
you.
righty, very good. All right. So the next one is our announcements by the mayor and the city council. I just wanted to start off by saying, this is kind of following the July 4th tragic flooding along the Guadalupe River. I wanted to thank our Leon Valley firefighters who supported Bergheim Volunteer Fire Department after the July 4th event. And it was heartwarming to see the humanity in all the people who helped and are helping in the region. And as you know, they're asking for support. So if anyone can support either by, labor or monetary, I know I personally donated to the Kerr County Relief Fund. Since I was a member of the ACOG, I am a member of the ACOG board. Our former chair is Judge Rob Kelly of Kerr County, and so he really has gone through a lot the last couple of weeks, and so we're trying to support him in that. I wanted to read a letter that we got, and I think all the council members got it today. I won't read the whole thing, but it's to Chief Mike Naughton and the Leon Valley City leadership. On behalf of our entire department, I extend our deepest thanks and appreciation to you and your team for providing an engine crew to backfill our station during the recent Guadalupe River flood event. Your personnel covered our station for 3 separate days, and their presence was invaluable during a challenging time for our community. We are incredibly grateful for your department's support and partnership. There is still much work ahead on the ongoing cleanup and recovery efforts. Still, your assistance during this event was a true testament to the strength of our regional cooperation and mutual aid. Please extend our thanks to Captain J. Ortiz and firefighters R. Flores, J. Ruiz, R. Sanchez, C. Gutierrez, and A. Flores. You truly came through for us in a time of need. So congratulations to our magnificent fire department for your help and support to the Bergheim. And just following this, at the July 26th is our next coffee with the city council and the mayor. And Dr. Caldera informed me that she and Chief were talking about doing a presentation on our FERP, which is FERP, which stands for Flood Emergency Response Plan, which I think is very, very timely. How many citizens know that we actually have a siren on the creek? And of course, that's one of the criticisms in Kerr County. But we do have a siren, and that will give you notification of impending flooding. And I want to thank the chief and Dr. Caldera for adding this to the coffee agenda. And emergency preparedness is so, so important. So we hope to see a lot of citizens, especially in the flood-prone areas in our community, along Poss Road and El Verde Road and some other places. But those are the two that I know of. And then kind of following that is like, I was thinking, okay, how can we help each other in a time of need? And I think National Night Out is coming up on October the 7th, and we need to know our neighbors and help and support each other. And so I'm pushing National Night Out again this year. Last year we had 13 gatherings, and it was up from 9, so we hope to have more this year. And anyway, more information will be forthcoming. I don't know if the police department is going to do a QR code or what, but anyway, we'll get the information out on how you can participate. Next Tuesday, July 23rd, Dr. Caldera and I are going to be attending a Bandera Road Task Force committee meeting, and I'll report on the latest findings when we're hopefully the funding and when they're going to be moving utilities. I don't know. We haven't met in a while, so I will give you a report as soon as we come back. I know back from that meeting, but I know one thing I'm concerned about is the traffic. So I want to make sure that we have some kind of traffic mitigation plan in place as we begin that Bandera Road improvement. And last but not least, it was mentioned today already, the 4th of July was just a fantastic event. Really appreciate Crystal Caldera, who headed the organization of the Crystal Miranda, excuse me. There's too many Crystals in my world, I tell you. Crystal Miranda, woohoo, yeah, you go. And all the department heads, police, fire, EMS, public works, you name it, they were there. 18 hours, folks. And the weather was a challenge, but you know what? We had no incidents. That's what was so super about this thing. And the park was not too terribly dirty either. We were trying to communicate to people to please pick up, and they did. And so, as it was alluded to, 4th of July funding of $180,000 is not in our budget for next year. So that makes me sad because it's the 250th annual or 250th celebration of our founding of our U.S. Declaration of Independence. So anyway, but we'll tackle that when we finally get our numbers at the end of July and see where we could go on that. So anyway, that's all I have. And if there's anyone else who has anything, please, and thank everyone for coming this evening. We really appreciate you being here. Councilor Campos, go ahead. You're next.
So for our citizens, again, you can't say thank you enough for our staff. We were getting updates almost every 2 hours where the city manager, the fire chief, and I'm sure the police chief and all the department heads were going around the field and looking to make sure it was safe to have the event. This was being done throughout the day. So we knew at the time that it was becoming 6 o'clock that everything would be in order. So that's a long day for the city manager and all the department heads. So thank you very much for that, and all your staff for that. It was a day of celebration for the community on the 4th of July, but it was also a very tragic day for those members in Kerrville, Kerr County, and Kendall County. And, we just need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers as we have done today as a moment of silence. So thank you for that, Mayor. I do want to point out that there are 2 firefighters, Leon Valley firefighters, that are currently supporting Kerrville in their recovery efforts. And so that was in the city manager's report, and I'd just like to highlight that to the citizens. And then something else that's going on with the Leon Valley Fire Department, they're starting their annual school supply drive for students in Leon Valley who don't have the means to purchase those school supplies. So if you would be so kind, please donate to that. That would be much appreciated. I do want to acknowledge the successful mill and overlay that was done in Warsbach. If you haven't been by there, it's beautiful. It was done in the middle of the night because there were no disruptions of traffic for Warsbach Road. So they're still waiting for the asphalt to cure. They're going to be restriping that in the coming days, okay? On Saturday, three.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
3 of the city council members, as well as the mayor, attended 3 grand opening events of stores within Leon Valley. One is going postal, which is over here close to Rita's at a restaurant over here. They offer Federal Express, UPS, DHL, they have some remarkable items for sale that are hand-carved from the Holy Land. You'd have to see them to believe them, but it's an enormous amount of items that they have for sale. If you have a chance, please go by. Then we had the honor to open up a grand opening for Shop My Closet, which is over there on Bandera at Linkwood. There's a 2-story building there on the top floor. It's a resale shop. It's beautiful. If you have a chance, please look at it. Primarily, right now, it's all women's, and some children's, but primarily women's. And then we went to another grand opening, which was the Quesadilla King, there on Bandera Road, close to Taco Bell, on that side of the road. Again, they have been in business for some time. They were at the mall for the last 5 years and now have a standalone store. So please support these 3 businesses, Going Postal, Shop My Closet, and Quesadilla Kings. And then finally, I'd just like to invite everyone to please check out the Leon Valley Library website. There's a tremendous amount of programs being offered in the month of January. To list them all would take
July.
July, excuse me. July. And it
Something
would
I
take
would do.
an enormous amount of time to describe them all. So please go to the website. So that's what I
Very
have.
good. Thank you. Good report. Do appreciate it. And thank you for mentioning the 3 grand openings. I forgot that, but that was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. So thank you to the counselors who went. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Orozco.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, congratulations to Sandra and the staff. Tomorrow is a CPAC meeting, and we invite everybody, the public. It's an opportunity to talk to your police officers and get some information that you like or bring up any concerns that you may have. So that's around 6:30 here. Yes, here.
I just want to make sure, because we've been at the conference center, so I want to highlight that it's
right,
here.
Dr. Caldera. We used to have it at the conference center. Now it's going to be here, so we welcome everybody. And again, I want to echo what the mayor and Councilman Campos about Kerrville. Our hearts go out to them. Miranda, the 4th of July, did a great job. And I got to see the fireworks and air conditioning from my house. So, it was a bittersweet day. And hopefully, we continue to pray for the people in Kerrville. And I can go on, but that's all I got for right now.
Thank you so much. All right. If there's no other announcements, then we will move to the city manager's report. Dr. Caldera.
Hi. So you already touched on the coffee. The 26th, 9 a.m., we'll have the flood and the budget workshop. So also come for the budget and kind of give your input on the city's budget. Again, I would be amiss for not thanking Crystal Miranda for the 4th of July. The weather that day was insane. And so people's patience and everything was wearing a little thin as the event was carrying on. And so she really took a beating that day from all angles, and so I would be amiss from not thanking her profusely for putting up with everybody on the July 4th event. So thank her again. I would also like to highlight our assistant finance director, Dawn, is from the Kerrville area. She has been dispatching for the city of Ingram. So she's leaving here and going over there and working a shift in their dispatch center in Ingram since the flood had taken place. And so I want to thank
You mean
and highlight
after
her.
she works here?
Yes,
No
ma'am.
way.
Yes, and she
'Cause I
worked
just
the
saw her
whole.
leaving.
Yeah,
Wow.
she also worked the entire 4th event and had to help with a lot of issues that they were having and came across a lot of different things during that flood event. And she was helping during that whole time. So I did want to highlight her as well this evening and thank her for her volunteer efforts at the city of Ingram. So that concludes my city manager's
I
report.
got a question for Crystal.
Yes, you sure did.
Dr. C, just out of your head, and you have to research this, would you happen to know how many permits are being given out for Senna and triology by any chance?
I don't. I would hate to give you a number and be inaccurate, but I can get that for you and email it to you.
Yeah, it looks like you got the whole street almost completed.
Yeah, I had the number, but I don't know the updated number, and I would prefer to make sure I have an exact number before I say it out loud.
Yeah, if you got time, I know you're
Yeah,
busy.
no, not a problem. We'll get it for you.
Okay. Before we go to the consent agenda, well, we need to honor 2 counselors on our dais this evening who had birthdays. So I know, I go through it every year too. So we're going to start with Counselor Danielle Bolton, June 21st. Danielle, here you go, and we're going to sing happy birthday in just a minute. Here you go. Congratulations. Your kids will love, and your husband will love the cake. And last but not least, we have Counselor Beth Mersch. Her birthday was just Friday, July the 11th. There you go. All right, so I don't have a great voice, but I can start us all, okay? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear counselors. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Yay. Very good. Thank you. Hope you have a great year and happy, healthy year ahead. Yes, ma'am.
As y'all move on to the consent, two things. As you move on to the consent agenda, if y'all are going to vote to approve the consent agenda, for the BOA one, I need y'all to make your motion to approve the consent agenda, but name a liaison for your BOA. And so that's just a note when if y'all decide to do that. Secondly, I do need a plug-in really quickly. I forgot to mention this in my city manager's report. We are looking for fosters. We do have 3 dogs. Both San Antonio Pets Alive and Austin Pets Alive have been supporting the Kerrville effort, and so they don't have extra space at the moment. And so we are looking for fosters for a couple of our dogs, and so if you know of any people that are willing to do that, we'd really appreciate it.
And are there pictures on the
There were
website?
pictures on the on Facebook, and so
Facebook,
we'll
okay.
make sure we get those out.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to the consent agenda, items 6.1 through 6.11. Is there anyone on the dais that would like to remove any of those items for discussion? Yes,
I
sir.
can do it. Let me make a motion to accept the consent agenda 6.1 through 10 with the approval of the
Well, 11 is on the next
11
page. Mhm.
with the BOA.
And who's the liaison?
Oh,
Are you going to be the liaison?
what's the name?
So I just need a
Yeah.
council liaison for the Board of Adjustments, and we only meet, they only meet when there's variances, and so we haven't met in 2 years, but there could be a variance, and then you would have to be present for that.
Oh, okay, well,
You want to nominate yourself?
no,
No?
thank you. I already got the
Just
seat
thought I'd
back.
ask.
If any
Okay.
of the councilors would like to,
Okay. Is there any volunteer? Okay, there you go. Yay.
Okay.
Council, Mayor Pro Tem, really appreciate it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you'll adopt the
With
consent
Betty
agenda
Howell
with
as the
appointing
liaison.
Mayor Pro Tem Betty Howell for the
BOA.
liaison for BOA.
liaison.
Okay. Do I have a second? All right, we have a motion by Councilor Roscoe and a second by Councilor Campos to approve the consent agenda 6.1 through 6.11 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you, and thank you for the volunteer spirit. Moving then to regular agenda item 7.1, presentation, discussion, and we do have a public hearing to allow approval of an ordinance on a request for a specific use permit to allow construction and operation of a telecommunications antennae tower in a B3 commercial zoning district located at 6004 Grissom Road, and more specifically described as Lot 4, CB 5955, Leon Valley Ranches subdivision. This is a first read as required by council, so we will not vote on this agenda item tonight, but you can give direction on if you'd like to put this in the consent agenda for approval at the August 5th meeting. So with that, I welcome Susana Huerta, our Planning and Zoning Director, to present. Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you. Good evening,
You
Mayor
bet.
and Council. Yes, before you, the question before you is you're asked to consider an SUP for a telecommunication tower. It's a cell tower in a B3 commercial zoning district, and it's on about 1 acre of land at 6004 Grissom. You'll have the options of approving, denying, or making some other type of motion. The SUP is compatible with the surrounding zoning. Like I said, it is zone B3, and the applicant is proposing a 160-foot high monopole tower with related antennas and equipment in a 50 by 50 square foot fenced area, which is approximately 10,000 square feet. within the 1 acre parent tract. The zoning ordinance calls for these types of uses. It allows them in a B3, but with the approval of a specific use permit. This is the property along Grissom Road. They are actually proposing the leased area to be in the rear of the property. This is an aerial view, so it will be located back here. These are the surrounding zoning. The property zone, this green is the B3. The blue is R1, and the pink is B2, right there. The master plan does state that for Grissom Road, it encourages promoting retail uses with some multiple family dwelling, townhouse dwelling, and garden home uses. This request is compatible with the city's master plan as long as the applicant complies with the other requirements by the code that include setbacks, separation requirements from adjacent uses. It must comply with all the requirements of section 15.02.382B, including the setback, fencing, signage, and lighting regulations, and a building permit is required prior to the beginning of construction. We did send out 16 letters to the surrounding property owners. We did not receive any in favor, opposed, or even undeliverable.
Susanna, can I ask you, did any of those letters go to any residents on El Verde Road? You know, because it is buttressing up onto El Verde. That's my concern. So
it's
Go back to the slide.
yeah. So that's yeah.
And so it's.
I guess it's too far. It's yeah. Mm-hmm. So
well, no, yes, it would have touched.
it
yes,
would have
so
touched
yes,
some.
It got,
okay.
They got notices.
Okay.
There.
All right. Good. I just wasn't sure the circumference.
But not all of El Verde. It's probably like 5 or 6 homes on that.
Just the ones that touch here.
Okay. Thank you. I just appreciate that.
The applicant did pay all the fees associated with their application. The development of this antenna may increase ad valorem taxes on the property, and mobile telecommunication services are subject to state and local tax based on the place of the primary use. Staff has no objections to the issuance of this SUP for the telecommunication tower, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the SUP with a 6-0 vote.
Okay. And I did meet the property or the owner. Yes, Alex and his son, who's getting a lesson in civics this evening. Yeah. So good evening. Would you like to say a few words to the council before we open up the public hearing?
Good evening, Mayor and
Good evening.
councilors. Thank you for your time. My birthday was July 3rd.
Oh.
I understand applicants don't get cakes, but
Okay. Okay.
so how did we get here? Why are we looking in this area? Okay, so this tower, initially the anchor tenant is Verizon Wireless.
Okay.
They were looking to improve their coverage, a gap in coverage in Leon Valley. Our initial search area was only a quarter-mile radius, so a very specific area. Now, one of the first things we do is, okay, what can we do? Where can we do it as far as zoning codes, things like that? We went out a half a mile. There were no competing structures, no towers we could co-locate on. We went out a mile. We did find 3 towers, 2 of them in one location just under a mile away, one of them about 0.8 of a mile away. Verizon was looking for a height of 155 feet, so that's why we're proposing a 160-foot tower. The existing towers, just to give you a quick snapshot, the one that is 0.83 miles away, it is 128 feet in height. The available space on that tower is 104 feet. Verizon deemed that, A, too far away from where we were looking, and too low. Okay. The other 2 towers, they're both owned by AT&T Towers. They're on Bandera Road. They're right next to each other, 0.91 miles away. The available feet 50 feet available on Tower 1, 110 feet available on Tower 2. So, again, we tried to kind of scour what was available and see if we could go on an existing tower, and there was just nothing that Verizon would give their stamp of approval for. This tower will be owned by APC Towers, a company that is a client of mine out of North Carolina. So that tower will be available for co-location to other carriers to kind of help with proliferation of additional towers in that area. So should AT&T or T-Mobile want to place antennas on that tower, it would be available for them to do so. So with that, I'll entertain any other questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the council? Yes, Councilor Orozco.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Huerta, just out of curiosity, and help me understand this, how would this qualify for Valerian tax?
Because it can increase, the placement of the structure can increase the value.
And I'm clueless, that's why I'm asking. So that's pretty good then. Thank you.
It's a fixture. It's a fixture.
I
Okay.
was thinking maybe just a home that you can only.
Yes, what would you like to add, Alex?
Clarify that. If taxes on the tower cause the general property taxes on the real estate to go up, the property owner is not responsible for that. There's a clause in the lease where APC Towers, the tower owner, pays that on behalf of the property owner. So it doesn't force any undue burden on the property owner.
Thank you for clearing that up. I just didn't know.
So y'all are like leasing the
Yeah,
just
we're leasing
leasing?
100 feet
Okay.
by 100 feet, and then putting the tower within a fenced area of 50 by 50.
Okay, very good. Yes,
That
Councilor.
was my question, whether you were leasing or purchasing
yeah.
this piece of land on that
Yep.
acre tract. But
So
you're just
their
leasing.
business will continue, as usual, and we'll be a good neighbor to them.
Excellent. All right, Councilor Campos.
So just to clarify for my colleagues, I believe, Ms. Huerta, please make sure I'm saying this right. The property, the frontage of that property is the Arredondo Foundation.
Arredondo Group.
Right.
Yes.
That's where the property
Engineering,
is
yeah.
that faces Grissom Road, and it's in the back of their property that they're putting this tower.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions? All right, let me open up the public hearing as required this evening, and it's approximately 7:26. Is there anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council at this on this agenda item 7.1 with the tower for Verizon? Think it's a good idea. Yeah, I guess we need more technology, right? There's more cell phones out there. So, okay, I don't see anyone wanting to speak on the public hearing, so I'll go ahead and close it at 7:26. And as we said earlier, we are not able to vote because we are required by our charter to have 2 reads. So, what is the pleasure of our counselor, about putting in the consent agenda? Yes, sir. Okay. Is that okay? So we'll put it in the consent agenda. So, Alex, that means on the next meeting, which is August the 5th, it'll just automatically go into the consent agenda and be approved. So thank you and congratulations, and we're glad you're here. And I hope your son enjoyed it. Okay, we'll give him a test. No, I'm just teasing. All righty. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. Do appreciate it. All right, this next one might take a while. We're finally addressing the sustainability overlay after many, many years. And it's agenda item 7.2 at 7:28 this evening. Presentation, discussion, and again, we have a public hearing of an ordinance amendment to Chapter 15 zoning, Appendix C, Sustainability, Gateway, and Commercial Industrial Overlay District Standards to delete the sustainability and the commercial/industrial overlay districts. Revisions to Article 15.02 Zoning Ordinance, Section 15.02.052 Definitions, Section 15.02.301 Districts, Section 15.02.304 Description and Purpose of Districts, Section 15.02.305 Regulation for all districts, Section 15.02.314 residential use table, amending section 15.02.318 PD Planned Development District, unquote, to a different section, and deleting section 15.02.318 MX-1 Mixed Use District, amending section 15.02.319 O-1 Office District, section 15.02.320 B1 Small Business District, section 15.02.321 B2 Retail District, section 15.02.322 B3 Commercial District, and section 15.02.323 I-1 Industrial District to add landscaping and lighting requirements, amending section 15.02.324 Table of Minimum Requirements to add the R7 District, amending section 15.02.381 Permitted Use Table to delete the Sustainability and Commercial Industrial Overlay Districts, amending section 15.02.441 Parking Regulations to add landscaping regulations and add bicycle parking, deleting Exhibit 2 Overlay Boundaries, Exhibit 2A Sustainability Overlay, and Exhibit 2C Commercial Industrial Overlay, and renumbering Exhibit 2B Gateway Overlay. And again, this is our first read as required by City Charter. And Susanna Huerta, our Planning and Zoning Director, is here to explain it
Yes,
all.
she will. But
Okay.
I just wanted to give some context
Okay,
of how
there-
we ended up
Dr.
here.
Caldera, you're up.
My apologies.
No, that's
I
okay.
just wanted to give a little bit of history of like how we ended up here and what's been kind of going on. And so about 3 years ago, the council at the time wanted to revisit the sustainability overlay. It was not really user friendly. They felt like it was maybe cumbersome for some of the developers or property owners, property management company, and so they thought it was an obstacle for them, and they thought maybe it was making it more difficult for businesses to come in. And so they asked the zoning commission to revisit and take a look at the sustainability overlay. And your previous planning and zoning director, as well as your public works director, Melinda, worked with the planning and zoning commission to kind of come up with recommendations. Mindy did leave, and so, but they had concluded their review. And so we took those recommendations and we submitted them to the attorney's office. But with the transition in staff, I didn't think it was fair for Susanna to pick up and try to go through the whole code. And so we've been meeting with the attorney to make sure that there was adherence to the state law, because that was also the parameters of what we currently had. Some of the items in the sustainability overlay had also been ruled unconstitutional by the legislature, and so we couldn't ask the businesses for aesthetically pleasing masonry or look of buildings, and so we needed to go in and make those changes. And so we represented to the zoning commission after the legal review went through. The zoning commission didn't really have any additional changes, but it has been 3 years. And so in the original kind of conversation, we had property managers, we got input from the committees, but again, it's been 3 years. And so all the direction was from Mindy and to the attorney's office was whatever recommendations the zoning commission made and any notes we had from the council at the time to go ahead and move forward with those changes. And so they were very basic. So essentially what we did was we deleted the sustainability overlay, we kept the gateways, and we moved a lot of the sustainability overlay and encompassed it into Chapter 15. So developers weren't having to go to 3 separate sections of the code to make sure they were in adherence to the code. They would only have to go to Chapter 15 when they were looking at the code. Now, so there are some things in there. You still have your PDD that the last council addressed, but that may be something y'all want to take a look at. We haven't re-looked at that. I know that that's been a topic of conversation. There are things like streetscape, bike lanes, and stuff that y'all may want to address that we didn't delete. We just moved over into Chapter 15. We did create, as Mindy will go through, an R7, and then mixed use was deleted. And so, but those were based on conversations that have happened quite some time ago. And so I know the mayor mentioned maybe having an advisory committee or some sort of committee take a look at that. That was the role of the zoning commission. So just, keep that in mind. I don't want to disappoint the zoning commission and say that their recommendations or their input didn't matter. But you also have your economic development advisory committee that they only come out when y'all provide them direction. So that may be something that y'all may look at. We've been trying to get this done for 3 years, and so I don't want it to sit in the back burner. This is the first read. You're not voting on it. What I would like to do, though, is vote on something, maybe not even at the next meeting, but sooner rather than later. We're already using this code as it stands today, but I would like to move the ball forward in some way. And then you can always come back and amend whatever you want to amend after you want to have, a 6-month review or however you want. If you're going to have workshops and get more input, then you can always come back and amend that. I just would hate for it to be sedentary again for an additional year, and then we're 4 years out. So that's just my recommendation on how to move forward if that's something that y'all want to do. But I definitely do think that there needs to be probably a republic outreach just because it's been almost 3 years since the last one. So I'll turn it over to Susanna and she'll go over detail of the changes and stuff that they recommended be changed in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much for the background. And welcome back, Susanna. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Caldera, for that. So the question before you is you're being asked to consider amending Chapter 15 specifically to delete the sustainability in commercial industrial overlay districts and revise the other sections as necessary. And that is moving a lot of those requirements over to Chapter 15 within the commercial zoning districts. You have the options of approving, denying, or making other changes. The ordinance amendments will make zoning regulations more user-friendly, comply with state law, and remove non-conforming status of certain properties. Because when this was implemented, it did make some properties non-conforming. That uses that were already in place were now not allowed under the new code. Chapter 15 should be reviewed and amended periodically, to stay current with new trends and building regulations. As Dr. Caldera has stated, Council had previously expressed a desire to revise the sustainability, gateway, and commercial and industrial overlay standards, and staff would like to make these revisions, which will make the zoning code easier to understand for both internal and external users, to comply with new state laws, and to remove nonconformity on certain properties. The proposed revisions include, I just thought it would be easier to kind of go down each of the changes that were made. There are quite a few. So first, Appendix C, the sustainability, gateway, and commercial industrial overlay district standards are amended to delete sustainability and commercial industrial. So the gateway will stay.
Can I ask, why did we choose gateway? Why didn't we just say sustainability overlay and get rid of gateway and commercial industrial?
So the conversation was that we still had areas of the city that when you're entering the city, they still wanted it to look a certain way. And so they left the gateway districts in order to be able to do that. So next to the flyover, on the other side of Huebner and Bandera, where your monuments were on the exterior artillery roads, was the concept when that conversation happened. Again, the conversation for leaving the gateway happened 3 years ago. And so if that's not something that the council's interested in doing, you can certainly delete it. You don't have to have a gateway.
Yeah, I mean,
They just wanted those entry points to look nicer because you're entering our city. So they had some expectations for those general areas. That was the reason. But not complicated.
Okay, okay, thank you. I guess we can stop you while we have questions as you go through it, or you want to go through the whole presentation? Okay.
As you go is perfectly fine.
I think so.
So she's going to have some context. She helped build what's currently there with the attorney, but she's not going to have the history part.
Right. Yeah. because we started with sustainability and we added the industrial and commercial when we first did this way back when in 2008. And then we added Gateway because the first project that we had out of the box under this new ordinance was a car wash. And it was like, what? And we're trying to get rid of the car wash and the car culture and try to upgrade Bandera Road. And so the council then carved out that at that time, long time ago, a Gateway. And I thought it was just on one side.
No,
So-
it was at the time, at the time it was on.
Because it was down by Eckert Road.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
Eckerd Road, and then you had Bandera and 410, and then there were some conversations on the Gateway in regards to signage. There was some stuff with signage that there were some conversations about, and then we had the aquarium, and the aquarium was on that side, and they needed a variance. And so I will say, though, over my time here, y'all have given a lot of variances to the sustainability overlay, the Gateway, as well as the industrial overlay as well. And so that's another reason for y'all to take a hard look at it, because we do give a lot of variances in regards to the parameters of these codes.
All right. Yes, Councilor Campos.
So for my colleagues, I was on the Planning and Zoning Committee or Commission some years back before being elected to the council. And during that time that I was on the Planning and Zoning, there was an issue that came up about these sustainability areas. And one had to do with the commercial property at the corner of Bandera and Hebner, where CC's Pizza is at. No, not CC's, Peter Piper Pizza. And so at the time, the code read that if you made an improvement of a certain percentage,
Yeah, I remember
then
that.
started committing for other improvements to that property. And so the Peter Piper was saying, well, no, I'm not going to dedicate 10% more to all this beautification things, and I'd rather move out. So the landlord came back and says, wait, don't move out. We'll pay that 10% on your behalf to make some improvements. And so that's what got this ball moving, because at the time that tenant or the owner of the property says, look, Leon Valley has a reputation of having some onerous requirements. No one wants to do any renovations, and no one wants to move into Leon Valley. So that's what I recall during my time. I think Councilor Orozco was here.
But I think this has amended that, right? Taking it out. So, yeah.
So
I
the-
mean,
the
we
council
heard
amended
we
that
heard the
piece,
owners
yes.
of the property.
Yes,
Yeah.
so the council at the time amended that piece, and the direction was, because again, legislation had also changed, so it was twofold. You were dealing with some legislative amended changes that needed to be done in the sustainability overlay that were no longer in adherence to the state statutes, as well as we had that comment come up. They had changed that piece. That piece has already been amended and changed. And so it goes along with everything I just said. You always have the ability, it's an ordinance. So if something's not working right, the council can always bring that ordinance back to review it. And so the council at the time needed an immediate fix for that particular item, because there was other shopping centers that wanted to make some remodels happen, and they didn't want to have to do the whole shopping center, or a good portion of the shopping center. But you have seen the idea behind that was to help your shopping centers become more in compliance, look a lot better, to hopefully recruit better businesses. And so it's just a matter of philosophy when it comes to codes like this, and what the council wants to see in their community. If you have stricter codes, we redid Crystal Rios Mall based on this code, as well as that shopping center where Peter Piper's is at, because they did comply. And they renovated the building. It has nice signage. They redid the paint. Crystal Rios Mall was dilapidated. They redid that whole shopping center. But you're right. It does provide an adherence to the property owners, the property managers who are trying to recruit businesses. So it's just a matter of the pros and cons and what the council would like to see. We had somebody come in during SDAT that recommended the sustainability overlay as a way to help rejuvenate Bandera Road. And so the idea of the sustainability overlay, because it had worked in other communities like Fredericksburg, Helotes, they've made Main Street programs out of the sustainability overlay. And that was the concept at the time, many, many years ago, that the council wanted to attempt to do here. But it is a long and rigorous process, and you get lots of complaints. The community has to be in on it for its entirety in order for it to work. We don't adhere to it because we continue to provide variances, and we go in and out and we change the codes quite frequently, and so it's been unsuccessful because we haven't adhered to the code. But you're right. I mean, you have to look at your demographics that are supportive of the area, whether or not you would be able to even recruit those types of businesses. And so it's just a give and take, but it's more of a policy decision on how strict you want those codes to be.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All right. If you'll continue, I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
So
Next-
we're just going through this, but if we have some suggestions, then we can certainly.
And again, this is going to be a long conversation. I don't expect us to
I
be
still
on it
think
till
we should keep sustainability, and that's important to me.
9 and 10, you're going to revisit this the next meeting. We can have more conversations. Y'all can provide direction on workshops and things of that nature. So it doesn't have to be a 3-hour conversation because you need to make a decision tonight. I want you to hear all the information, digest it, take it back, make recommendations on whether or not you want to continue to have a PDD or look at the revision of that to some degree, take a look at, it's a lot of information. So I didn't expect y'all to get this on Friday and have answers for us this evening either. And so if you have suggestions and changes, we're open to that. We just need a little bit of how y'all want to move forward. So.
Okay, thank you.
Great. The next section that we made some changes to was the definition section. And this was to include definitions that were in the overlay districts. The overlay districts also had, also had a definition section, and some of those definitions.
Bless your heart. You need some water.
Not sure what happened.
Yeah.
Some of your presentation. So they did make changes to definitions, and the amended did include the definitions for previously the overlay districts. We did add R7, which is a single-family medium density. So we have an R1 that has larger lots, and you have an R6 that has a smaller lot. It's just conducive to what other cities are doing. There's something for medium, so we did add that. And part of one of the recommendations, and that's what I was asking Susanna about earlier, in regards to, go ahead and change the slide for me, Roka, please. In regards to mixed use, we did delete that item, and we were back and forth, but it was one of the recommendations, and I think one of the reasons they deleted the mixed use was because there was the PDD, and they felt like that would fall under the PDD guidelines. But there's nothing wrong if that's something you would like to keep. We have regulations for all the districts. Residential estate district, we did keep it. The masonry requirements should be removed. I know in your packet it's showing underlined as if it's still in there. It should be deleted. It was just a typo. We did update and amend the residential use table, and then the PDD kind of just stayed by itself. Now, the one thing I did recommend, or that we didn't change, but that I would like y'all to take a look at, is the criteria for a PD. One of the things that came up during the Seneca West discussion were the subjectiveness of the criteria specifically for the PD. So you may want to look at more concrete language for your criteria in regards to that. Go ahead, Roka, switch to the next slide for me. Are you ready to go? Okay, there you go.
Well, can I just add, because I don't know where that is, we had so much information, but you kept RE1, which is the large lots.
Right, at acre lots.
But so, to me, if you're going to keep the RE1, which I don't know where we're going to ever have big, large lots in Leon Valley, to be honest with you. I want to, for the council to consider keeping MX1. It's not the same as PDD in my book. It's a it's the business on the bottom and the
Well, it's any
residential on
mixed,
top.
that's one example, but mixed use can be a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it gives more variety, so it's never been used, neither has the RE1,
Yeah.
So I just think we keep it in to maybe attract somebody that wants to develop that
Well,
in
WellMed
Leon
is
Valley.
WellMed is probably a good example of, WellMed is probably, or like, closer down Eckerd, he has houses in the back, and then he's got an office space in the front. It's not on top, but the houses
Yeah.
are in the back. That's a
Oh,
mix, that's,
okay.
it was done as a PD because it didn't really, there was other things done on that property, but that's an example of kind of a mixed use, yes.
Okay, all right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. If there's anybody else that wants to chime in. Okay, thank you. Go ahead. I'm passionate about this.
So the next area that was amended was regulation for all districts, and that was to delete the sustainability and commercial overlay districts from that section. RE1 was amended to move it. It would make more sense to have it before the R1 district because of the size of the lots. And we changed the numbers accordingly. It would change the numbering. Masonry requirements were removed in compliance to state law, and the residential use table was amended to add the RE1. The PD district was amended to move it before the commercial and industrial districts, and as we mentioned, the MX was deleted. The sections for the commercial districts, which included O1, B1, B2, B3, and I1, they were all amended to add landscaping, parking, and lighting requirements that were in the overlay district. So we didn't make changes to those. We just moved them. Since we were deleting the overlay districts, we were keeping the requirements that state law still allowed us to regulate. So we moved the things that were still going to make things look more attractive, like the parking and the lighting and the landscaping. Now they were moved to the commercial districts.
I just want to make a point because I know you're very passionate about keeping the term sustainability. All of the regulations that we can have under sustainability just got moved over. We didn't delete them. We deleted it as its own manual, its own book, so the developers don't have to go to 2 to 3 sections of the code, but you still have all of the sustainability requirements that we can legally have in Chapter 15. That's all we did was we just moved them. And so I just want to make that clear. And you can still title them as sustainability. I know, but keeping it separate, that was one of the bigger complaints.
Yeah, I don't mind keeping it separate. I just think sustainability has a lot more meaning than gateway, to be honest with you.
Right.
It has a lot more meaning,
Right,
about
but-
what we're trying to accomplish in
So-
our zoning. So
Right.
that's just,
So,
you
but so there's I don't know if so you have gateway, you still have sustainability. It's just in Chapter 15. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I thought we were deleting sustainability and industrial and
And you just
industrial.
moved it into Chapter 15.
Yeah, okay.
And really,
It's just semantics right now.
What's
so,
happening is,
Yeah.
so the overlay district, you had it on a map and you said, okay, this area along Bandera Road and this area along here is going to have this additional sustainable regulations. Now you're going to have them in all commercial districts. The sustainability requirements that include the parking and the landscaping and the lighting, the ones that we can
Yeah.
still regulate, you're actually adding them to more areas than before, because now everything that's zoned a commercial or industrial zone is going to have those additional requirements. So in some ways, you're expanding the overlay district without calling it an overlay district now. All those requirements will be in the commercial and industrial districts.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Campos.
So I saw that they were all added to the commercial areas. And I looked at them, they're streetscaping, landscaping, lighting, trees,
Parking.
and parking. But I'm wondering whether those are so onerous in making these requirements that we're going to be, again, faced with businesses not wanting to come into Leon Valley. So I know this is just our preliminary discussion, and I asked my colleagues to kind of look at that. They were added in every business section. And if you could look at those and see if that's truly what we want to do. I thought, adding a bike rack, requirement of adding a bike rack, and so, well, and bike lanes, and it's kind of like, well, where do we do that? You know, I don't know of a friendly street, whether it's Evers or even Bandera at the moment, okay, that we're going to have people riding bikes. And so I'm kind of torn with that. I think since we took them out of the sustainability, okay, and now we're putting them into every commercial district, if that's the right term.
Well, also, this is only going to be for new development. So we're not making the existing properties comply. It's only going to be when you're going to have new development coming in that they will have to comply with these things. Or like, let's say somebody were to tear down an entire development and build new, they would need to meet all these requirements.
So
it's not going to be for the people that, let's say, a bakery moves out and a restaurant wants to go in, and all they're going to do is they're going to change the signage. And we're not going to make them add all this landscaping or that if their parking lot's already all paved.
Right. And
So
so
tell me about on the streetscaping standards, this 51% that is spoken about here. If it's more than 51%, you know, and I'm looking in, and so I kind of get that if it's over 51%, then these standards apply.
So not all of the standards, and so again, that's just more for y'all to figure out. If it's y'all want a 71%, if you don't want any percentage and you just don't want them to apply, and you only want it to apply to new development, you can certainly look at that. We were trying to get a way for older businesses at some point to comply, and the whole part of sustainability, that buzzword in SDAT was connectivity, was bicycle lanes, was the bike racks, was adding LED lighting, LED parking lots, more green space to
Planting
their properties.
trees.
Right, landscaping was very big as part of that, as part of that exercise. And so, but that's why I'm saying the sustainability didn't go away. All we did was move it over. And so it still has the same feel as sustainability. And so it just depends on the direction or the philosophy of this council on what you want in regards to that. But the idea was for new development. I mean, the concept was for new development, but there's 51% under, I think, landscaping and streetscape. If you do X amount of renovations of 51% to a building, which means more than half of the cost of the building in repairs or remodel, then you would have to comply with those rules and regulations. But again, it's what y'all want to see in that. And so y'all are the ones that are going to determine whether or not it's erroneous or not the staff.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking my colleagues to just look at that section and see if that's where we want to go.
Do you have a page reference?
Well, I've got here, they're in all districts,
it.
but I
Yeah,
pulled
so-
one starting the O-1 office district, and that starts on 61 of 159, but the additions are actually on 62 of 159, and they're the same requirements in every
I
business
saw that,
district.
yeah, I
okay?
saw that, yeah.
So I just, like my colleagues, look at it a little bit and say, okay, it's got a prescription on a requirement for how many trees every so often, canopy, and all that, okay. But is that what we want? Again, we're trying to invite businesses to come in, and again, they can always get a waiver,
A variance.
a variance to these requirements.
So,
I bet.
and then
Have to
to
have
kind of
standards.
add, like, if you're going to keep those requirements in there, Mayor, we can put your word in there in order to comply with sustainability. So you can have your sustainability word still in line with those terms, if that's something that you would like. I know.
Well, and a lot of y'all don't know that we, and I'll just, but I think it's important for the citizens to know that we were the first suburban city in the state to receive a sustainability grant back in 2008 from the American Institute for Architects. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because we applied and we ended up being the first suburban city, and then I think it was Fort Worth that year. And so we had architects come in, we had like a year-long planning, and so it's hard for me to I mean, I've got a different perspective because I've been on it since ground
the
zero.
staff
so.
perspective, and to be honest with
Yeah.
you, it was done in almost laziness in the sense that it was easier just to create its own than to try to incorporate it the way it should have been from the very beginning. It should have been incorporated in chapter 15.
But
Because business owners, we've done this to many business owners where they come in and they're trying to develop and they go to the zoning code and they think they're in compliance and they submit their thing and we're like, oh no, you don't comply with the sustainability overlay, you're not even allowed. And so then they're like, where's that at? And then that's a different section. And so we can understand how that could be very difficult and frustrating for developers and business owners trying to come into the city when they don't know that there's 3 sections they essentially have to look at to see if they're going to be in compliance. And so I think back then it was just easier for us to incorporate it as one document and just get it done and kind of check a box. And you know, I'm not downplaying what the staff did back then, but it's easier to do it that way than to try to mesh it with your current code. And that's all we're trying to do now.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, anyone else? Thank you.
And
I'll quit
also what I
talking.
also wanted to point out was that percentage is already in the sustainability overlay, in the overlays. So it's not something new. It's just once again,
Just
we're
moved it.
moving it from the overlay district into the zoning districts to not lose it. And, but it already exists, that percent, that way, the way it's written. It was just moved.
Okay.
We amended, the change we're making to section 15.02.324, table of minimum requirements, is that we added the RE1 and the R7 districts. In the permitted use table, we amended to delete sustainability in commercial industrial overlay districts. Also, something that I wanted to point out is that you should look at the permitted use table and look at what uses were not allowed in the sustainability and commercial industrial overlay districts. By removing those districts, now those uses will be allowed again along those areas. So I went through the use table and I looked at them. Some of them were like air conditioning repair, some automobile repair, animal shelter, appliance major repair. Some of those things that weren't allowed in the sustainability district, now that'll be gone, if they have a B3, it'll be permitted, or it's just something you might want to look at. But I wanted to point that out, that's something that's changing since we are removing the overlay districts. Now those uses will be allowed just by the underlying zone.
Okay.
Parking regulations were amended to add landscaping regulations and add bicycle parking. Exhibit 2, overlay boundaries, was deleted to remove sustainability in the commercial industrial. And Exhibit 2B, gateway overlay, was just renumbered since that's the only one that's staying. That was the last of the listed changes. We wanted to include the state laws that no longer allow us to regulate building materials and aesthetics and transparency, those things. This just shows you the overlay maps where they're located. We sent out 1,100 letters to property owners within 200 feet. It was everyone within the district and within 200 feet of each of those districts.
I was going to ask you, how you got, I've never seen us,
Yes, there's thunderstorms coming.
You know what? I meant to bring my umbrella and I said, no, it's not going to rain. It's raining. Okay, excuse me, Susanna, how in the world did we get 1,100? I've never seen that number.
Never have I, yeah.
Have you? I mean, I haven't. It's like 200 maybe, but yes, Councilor
I know
Mersch.
my neighbor got one, so all of the houses that are behind all of the strip centers got them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she brought it to me because she didn't understand what it was saying. It was terribly confusing, and and the thing she saw was lighting and parking, and she goes, well, yeah, I think I have an issue with lighting, because I don't want big lights, shining in my house and stuff like that. So the letter was very confusing, but I can see how it could get to 1,100 if you look at all the houses that are behind all of the strip centers on Bandera Road. You have a lot of houses there.
Okay, that was a lot of work, I think, to determine who gets, I would think, but maybe I'm wrong. Yes, Dr. Caldera.
So a little off topic.
Okay.
There is a gray car in the Bandera side parking lot with an open trunk.
A gray car?
On the Bandera side parking lot with an open trunk. So I just letting.
Uh-oh.
I have a gray car, so.
Campos, your car's gray, right? Yeah. Silver. You're sending your assistant?
My boss.
Even better said, yes.
You have a chief of staff.
Sorry, I just wanted to.
No, that's important, especially if it's going to rain.
I heard that,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
I-
Okay, where were we? Yes, Counselor Campos, I think
So
you were
could you
talking.
go back one slide?
Oh, yeah.
No, maybe not forward.
Oh,
To
forward?
show the 1,100.
Oh, so show it at 11 here. Okay.
Okay, so this morning, Ms. Huerta and Dr. Caldera and I met to talk about this in more detail, and we talked about different things. And one of the things I asked were, well, what were the 10 letters of opposition about?
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell the rest of my colleagues what they were about.
Primarily, as Councilmember Mersch mentioned, wasn't well written enough for the layman to understand that it was a code amendment, and not most people thought it was proposed new development that was being proposed, and so they didn't want new development next to them. And that the majority of people thought it was new development.
So we will be making a change. We have legal requirements, so it has to be worded a certain way. We just don't have a choice. And so there are legal requirements in the public notice, but we will be adding like a footnote to debrief what the legal lingo is on that public notice in the future. So just FYI.
So we're going to add another notice?
It's not another notice, it'd be on the same notice. We'll just add a footnote to the notice. So
Okay.
we can explain that, this, because not all notices, some of them are just a replat, it's a replat, everybody
Okay.
kind of knows what it is.
Oh, I
But
see, on future.
In the future
Okay,
notification.
in the future,
yes,
gotcha.
yeah.
All right. All right, yes, thank you for that.
This amendments address needed changes for, as we mentioned, readability, compliance with state law, and undue hardship from sudden nonconformity and ease of use. The Planning and Zoning Commission and we suggested the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council review the table of permitted uses, like I just mentioned, to assure that uses that were allowed in the underlying zoning district but prohibited in the overlay districts are still appropriate for their underlying districts.
That's why I said, do we need a committee? Because of that suggestion. You're saying, I honor the planning and zoning. I appreciate their hard work, and no, I'm not dissing them at all, but I just thought we could collectively work together on that. So that was my suggestion to Dr. Caldera.
Yeah, I don't have an issue
Yeah.
with the committee. My
But
problem with
you
it is.
said we'd do workshops instead.
Well, the reason I like workshops is because you move forward. We tried to do the sign ordinance with the special committee, and it took a year and a half. And because people can't make it, and you're trying to move meetings, and they don't understand it, and so when you do it as a workshop, you get the same amount of input. The council is the one ultimately making the decision on the code. You can have joint meetings, so you can invite the zoning commission and the economic development group to participate in a joint meeting. It's just been my experience with advisory committees that they just take longer.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
let's, whatever the council suggests, we'll abide by that. So, yeah, okay. All right.
The city's comprehensive plan will also need revisions to delete references to the sustainability and commercial industrial overlay zoning districts, but it can be accomplished in-house by staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, of course, with council approval. This should be completed by the end of the year. Revisions will, yes?
Oh, yes, Councilor Mersch, I had a question on that too. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I would also like to ask if this is all being looked at, whether it's just the table or whatever, I personally would really like to look at the whole PDD and to include that in this revision instead of just moving it over or whatever, but to really look at the content and the criteria. I know I've long felt that they were so vague, and no developer was ever asked to prove that he met those criteria. That was my real issue in some of the more recent issues, is that he could say, well, this is an odd-shaped piece of property, or this is going to achieve something we couldn't achieve in a regular district, but he didn't really say why, or, you know. So I think that if we do workshops or whatever, we also need to tackle the section
I think that
on
was
the...
going to be included.
the
Yeah.
That's included. And so
Right.
here's the other thing that I've learned for doing this a really long time. This is a lot of information. And it will, no matter how much you want to get it all done overnight, you're not going to be able to do it. So if you take it, if you move it, because we need to be compliant with state law. So if you move it over and you just move it over, then the council takes it chunk by chunk. And so you address the PDD, you address the streetscape, you address the percentage. Each of those are individual topics of conversation versus trying to take the entire chapter 15 and trying to digest it and make a motion with all of these changes and amendments to the code. That's the only reason I suggested, let's get compliant. We didn't delete anything. It's still the same code. All we're doing is moving it and encompassing it. And then if you have a problem with the 51% or the PDD, which, you know, has been a topic of conversation, or the streetscape, then we address those as individual ordinance amendments. Does that make sense? Versus trying to digest this whole thing at one time seems sometimes like a heavy weight for y'all. And then we have 2 to 3 hour council meetings just on one item. So that's just a recommendation.
Susanna, would you go back one slide? It says, I just want to understand, city's comprehensive master plan will also need revisions. Now, and it'll be done in-house. That's not what we've been talking about in the budget, has it?
So y'all
Is
removed it from the
Yeah,
budget.
we removed it from the budget.
So along with this, I give staff goals, right? And so addressing the sustainability overlay as part of Ms. Huerta's 1-year performance review. This is one of the things that we needed to get accomplished, or the ball moving. You know, if y'all decide to postpone it, that's not her fault. But it was a big thing that was sitting there. So when we brought her on, that was a condition of employment, that this is one of the things. So the 1 year getting the master plan and cohesiveness with it is part of it's part of that. But if we don't get it by the end of the year, it's not the end of the world. We would love to do the master plan what I would consider the right way. It needs to be updated. But if y'all don't, and you don't have the funding to do it, then we would make those changes in-house in order to be compliant.
That's what I want to clarify.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. Anything else? And if not, then it may increase ad valorem and sales taxes?
Yes.
That's what we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Oop.
All right.
And the Plan and Zoning Commission did make a recommendation of approval of the
Okay.
amendment.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate your efforts and appreciate all the efforts from the planning and zoning. And so if there's no further questions from the council, I'll open up the public hearing. Councilor Orozco, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This can be a time-existing process. And, well, first of all, let me thank the zoning committee for this. And I agree with Dr. Cardella as far as moving it and be compliant by law, and then just go ahead and surgical it,
Tackle it piece
part
by
by part.
piece, yeah.
But it's imperative that we become compliant by law first, and then we can go ahead and start going on it. So it's going to take some time, and I like to, even though I glanced at it, it's a lot of pages there. I like to
page by page.
digest it a little bit more and look at it, but if we can move it over and then we start working on it and start chipping away, is that okay with you guys?
That sounds great. I think that's the plan. Okay, so it's 8:13, and I'm going to open up a public hearing on the sustainability changes in Chapter 15. And is there anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council on this? Yes. Good evening, Kim, and welcome. Good to see you.
Kim Crawford, Forest Oaks. and y'all actually already addressed it. This is going to sound like a complaint. I don't mean it to be, because I know a lot of work went into this. But I was one of the ones of the 1,100 that got the
did you?
letter,
Okay.
and it was exactly what's on the agenda. I
Oh.
had no idea
Oh my
what that
gosh,
was.
is that what was on the letter?
Absolutely no idea what that meant.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a foreign language right there.
Not only was it a foreign language, but it didn't tell me anything.
I know.
It had no information in it.
Yeah.
Oh
my
and now,
goodness,
I
bless your
say that
heart.
as a layman. To y'all, it had huge amount of information, I'm sure. But
It was a lot of
but
words.
I was so this is more of a request than a complaint. I just and you've already addressed it, Dr. Kadira. If we could have some kind of table that says everything that you have to have in there legally, and then one column says, and when this means, because when I got it, I wasn't thinking new development. I thought it meant I had to do something to my property.
Oh.
I thought I had to make
I
a
see.
bunch of changes.
Yeah, I get you.
And so I did. I wasn't in the for or against. I called. I think I talked to you. And got it explained. But to be honest, I still didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a little more sense now. But just in the future, could you consider the layman has no idea what you're talking
Here
about?
it is, Kim, right here.
That's all I had to read.
Yeah, that's all you have
what
to
was I
read.
thinking?
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I appreciate all the work that went into that. But
A lot of work.
it just did. All it did really was scare me. Because
no.
I thought I'm going to
Don't
have
want
to
you
add
to be
lighting. I'm going to
scared.
have to put some trees up.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do all this stuff. Put in the
Right.
parking lot. So anyway,
Well, thank you for sharing those
I
comments.
started not to
appreciate
say
it.
anything because y'all already addressed it, kind of. But it's just something that meant a lot to me because I was worried.
I
Thank you.
can imagine. Thank you. Well, take the weight off your shoulders now. Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Hefner, good to see you. Welcome back.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. Good to see you.
I actually didn't even know this was on the agenda tonight, so I'm
Oh.
glad. I know I see some new faces on the council, so I used to sit where you guys sit a few years ago. Really appreciate the sacrifice that you guys have in serving our city. So first of all, thank you. This is a monumental task. I figured while I'm here, it doesn't hurt for me to give you a little bit of history. I think Mr. Campos mentioned it. This was a topic we faced 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't CC's, it was Peter Piper Pizza. And the issue of the sustainability overlay that became really problematic and really burdensome to our businesses was Peter Piper Pizza is a tenant. They're not a property owner. And they came and they said, we want to do $100,000 in renovations. And then they had to spend, like, according to the sustainability overlay, the property owner had to then spend something like 20% of that improving landscape. So I got to, in the parking lot of Peter Piper Pizza, he had to go and put in $20,000 in landscaping, right? That's absurd, right? So a little bit of background there, and that's part of why I think the state legislature did what they did in terms of, taking away some of the things that municipalities are able to do. I wanted to address a couple of things that were mentioned. Oh, and I'm running out of time. Or is that going up or down? It's going up.
You have 2 minutes
Okay,
and 30 seconds.
I'll go quick. Mayor, you mentioned something about being the first city in Texas to get a architectural grant to do this, right, back in 2008. Unfortunately, for the last 17 years, the feedback that we've gotten from businesses has been that this is burdensome, that it's not a positive thing. It may have been a great thing back in 2008. 17 years ago, sustainability ain't what it used to be. But, like in terms of the way it's thought about, right? It's thought about in a completely different way than it was in the early 2000s. So just being the first doesn't make it, that's a sunk cost. That's done. So just because it was a thing 17 years ago doesn't mean it's a thing we need to keep now. And then I think there was some talk about the bike lanes. If our city really wants to invest in bike lanes, we can use the money that we won in a grant 4 years ago to finish the hike and bike trail. When my wife and I first bought property here in 2015, we came to our very first annual town hall meeting at the library, and we were talking about the hike and bike trail. And here, 10 years later, it still ain't done, right? Like, we have the money for it. We got a grant to pay for 80% of it. Still not done. You want to do that, connect, and that's where people ride their bikes in San Antonio, because those trails connect to 70 miles of trails around the city. So instead of trying to get the sustainability overlay in our zoning to do something along a major traffic corridor that people aren't going to ride their bikes on, use the other amenities we have. That would be my recommendation. So I think the purpose that staff gave was, this is going to ease use, eliminate some undue hardships on business owners. So I would encourage you get compliant with state law, as Mr. Roscoe mentioned, and then as you want to tweak it from there, take it one bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Okay. If there's no one else in the chambers that would like to address the council, I'll close the public hearing at 8:19. And as we said, there's no vote tonight, but we will put it on the August 5th regular agenda, continue to discuss it, because I know my colleague, Mr. Campos, wanted us to look at a particular section on streetscape.
So the way I thought we could, and it's up to y'all, and you can redirect me if you'd like, is we can put it on, you can adopt it. The very next agenda, we will address streetscape. The agenda after that, we can address PDD, the one after, and whatever else comes up from the feedback from the council, and I can put it on the pipeline so we can make sure we stay on top of continuing to move forward chunk by chunk. And so you would take a section each time. And so that, again, that's just my recommendation. So you would adopt it the next meeting, and then the subsequent meeting after that, we can take it piece by piece. And so I know Sandra's in the back squirming because codifying the code makes it a little bit difficult for her, but we can work through it. And so then that way, if you want to add words, Mayor, like you want to add sustainability back in to certain sections, we can certainly do that. And so just taking it that way, if that's all right with y'all, if that, is amenable.
But I'd like to also know what other sections that my colleagues would like to address. I know you said streetscape, you said PDD. What else, so that we can have a list that we can go down?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't need it. I don't need it today. You can come up with it the next meeting.
Exactly.
And at any time, we can be 2 years from now, and you want to add something back in, we can always add it back to the agenda.
Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. So yes, Councilor Mersch.
I just think that it's so confusing. I agree that we need more time to go back and relook at it because it was kind of overwhelming to go through it the first time with all the strike-throughs and it was little print and everything else. But I think it's something that we don't even know yet what other sections we might want to delve more deeply into or address until we kind of take a second or third look at the whole document.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
there's
so
some other sections I'd like to look at too.
So if you adopt it this way, all those strike-throughs go away, it conforms, you have one piece, then that one piece you can take bit by bit. And so you might want to, there's some definitions I kind of have some questions on myself, and so we can clarify some of that. We can talk about mixed use as part of another conversation, and so you can take those sections, and as you're going through and say something else may come up as we're viewing one thing. This is a fluid document. You're not, concreted into keeping it the way you adopt it. And so as we move through it, you may have additional changes. And so nothing's keeping you to it.
Yes, Councilor Mersch.
So I have another question. If we do it piece by piece, does the document have to get amended and approved for each piece that we change, or do we leave it in?
No. So it'll be amended and approved. So because you still need the component. So you'll say we tackle PD first, and we have 2 meetings in discussion with PD, or 3 meetings, or whatever that looks like. The current PD section remains as it is because you still have it, and then you will amend it. Then we'll come back, repeal it, and amend that section of the code. But if we try to take it as one big fluid document, it's a lot for y'all to kind of digest. And so that's just why it's my recommendation to do it that way, because then you can have a longer conversation about a PD versus jumping from PD to streetscape to, mixed use to XYZ.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm still a little confused whether we're going to be putting out 36 editions of this code throughout the year as we change one thing at a time?
So you probably will, and there's not anything wrong with that. When we have, so what we'll essentially do is, we don't codify, we don't like amend the code, send it for codification. It sits in an uncodified box essentially, and then we try to codify every 2 to 3 months or whatever that looks like. And so as we move through, we'll get a codification. What I will ask the city secretary to do is wait on codifying this particular piece, because it is going to be such a big piece that it's probably going to be about $1,000 for the codification. So we'll keep it as an uncodified until we get to the majority of it, till y'all are kind of satisfied with the amended changes of the whole thing. And again, you can always change it as we, like 2 years from now, a year from now, 6 months from now. But once we address the major concerns from y'all, then I'll ask the city secretary to codify at that time. So we'll kind of keep this one on hold.
Thank you, that helps.
Did you notice on the document that we got, they scratched out 2008? That was when it was initially codified. And so that when we do it again, it'll scratch it out and it'll be 2025.
Yes.
So that's how we'll know when we've updated it, right?
Yes.
I mean,
I'm going to
did
try
I
to
read
do
that
it
right?
as least
Yeah.
confusing as possible. I've just learned with larger code amendment changes, we get lost in the weeds and it takes a long time to kind of get through it, so.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank y'all for the discussion. I thought it was really great, and thanks for the citizen input as well. We're moving then to regular agenda item 7.3 at 8:27. And discussion and possible action on revision to short-term rentals. This was requested by Council Member Campos and Mayor Pro Tem Heil. And Mr. Campos has put together a presentation this evening, so welcome and thank you. And we look forward to the discussion.
So my colleagues, I've got a very short presentation on possible proposed updates to the short-term rental ordinance that we currently have. If you haven't been around this topic, it's been around for a long time. They've been discussing it. I put on there how many times it appeared on the agenda in 2021, 6 times, and you can see the time we've created, short-term rentals is STR, okay? What residential dwellings, apartments, condos, just definitions, things that are rented less than 30 consecutive days, and hotel occupancy taxes. Okay, we had some citizens appear in January of 2023, and that was my neighborhood. I live in Castle Estates. And in our neighborhood, there's approximately 27 homes. There was a presentation created in March. That March, it created a draft ordinance that was put forward by the counselors at the time, Counselor Josh Stevens and Counselor Orozco, who's still on the council. We then had a draft that was put together by the city attorney at the time, okay? And it was discussed at a retreat, and we discussed those changes. I presented that in September of 23, and it was a document, again, prepared by the city attorney. But I was the person delivering the news. And it was very restrictive, and there was quite a bit of comment from the counselors as well as the citizens. We updated the ordinance, and we finally passed it. The second read was in November of 2023. And believe it or not, when we started this, we had different opinions. People did not agree on different things. But at the end of the day, when we passed it in November of 23, it was unanimously. So it was a great effort coming together as a council. So what am I proposing? I'm proposing some updates to some reasonable updates, okay? I just want to give you, in what was passed before, it's now a requirement to register your short-term rental with the city of Leon Valley. Currently, we have 7 registered short-term rentals. Now, when you do a search out there for short-term rentals using Airbnb, RVBO, Expedia, there are many more that are out there, okay? And so I believe through the work of the city staff, we've gotten agreements with Airbnb to start collecting our hotel occupancy tax up front because no one was complying at the time that I'm aware of self-reporting their activity on hotel occupancy taxes. We also have it for VRBO, and there, again, out of the 7 listings, there's 15 listings in this website for short-term rentals. So what we're trying to do is, what I'm suggesting is come up with a definition of what is owner-occupied. Does the owner use short-term rentals for a bedroom, for a living room, a garage apartment, so that we know that they're the owners and they're occupying that? Because we've got, believe it or not, people who are registered, 3 out of the 7 who have homeowners exemptions on the property. Now, I don't know, I leave it to the city attorney. I've talked to the city manager. I don't understand how somebody who does a short-term rental and rents out their entire home qualifies for any type of homeowner's exemption. And then we have one property that goes further than that. It has an over 65 exemption. So how does that happen? Okay. So what I'm asking is that there's an acknowledgement on the registration that they acknowledge they're not entitled to any type of homestead exemption if they're not an owner-occupied short-term rental. In addition, what I've asked is that after the staff has reviewed the application and has approved it, not before, but after it's been approved, that the neighbors get notified. By the way, there is a short-term rental in your neighborhood. I'm not trying to have it where it's contested. That's not what I'm attempting to do. It's just, we were in our neighborhood, we saw a bunch of renovations to one of the largest homes in our area, okay? And we thought, we were told, oh, my mother-in-law is going to be moving in. So great. But what we noticed is that there were a bunch of different vehicles all the time parking in their driveway. And I called down to the city and I said, is this property a short-term rental? And indeed it was. And that particular short-term rental, believe it or not, sleeps, what did I say, 26 people?
26. Yeah.
26 people, okay? It's at what point do you say it's not? It's a commercial property, but it is what it is. And I'm not trying to advocate for anything like that, but I'm also trying to propose updates to where they're located. We have currently in the ordinance that they can't be within 200 feet of one another, and what I'm proposing is 300 feet. And the reason for that is that in our area, everyone has at least a half an acre. And 200 feet sometimes does not give enough distance restrictions, and it'll affect not only my neighborhood, but Monte Robles as well, because we're getting short-term rentals pretty frequently in Leon Valley. And then the other thing that I'm asking is that, are there any recommendations from my colleagues or the staff so that we can preserve the essential character of the residential areas within Leon Valley? So those are the asks, my suggestions. And so what happens next, here's what I think is that I'd like to discuss this further. I'd like to ask staff to develop an updated ordinance and then develop council consensus. And then we present it for the first read and second read so that we can get this ordinance updated. So that is the ask. I've also prepared in the documents.
Updated, yeah.
Here's what other cities are requiring. Okay, so that's there for your review, and so at least this is what I want to do to start this conversation.
Okay,
All
very
right.
good. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I believe, Councilor Roscoe, you had your hand up first. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate it. People claiming homestead exemptions, do we have any jurisdiction as far as enforcing that, or does the Bexar County Tax Office have the authority and the responsibility to make sure that somebody has a business and yet they're claiming homestead? And the reason I'm asking is because when this first started and they wanted to have a variance for a fence, and one of my complaints was that, wait a minute, they're claiming homestead exemption and they're renting it out as an Airbnb. And I said, it just not, well, unfortunately, there's ways around it where the name was under somebody else's name and the Airbnb was in somebody else's name. So they were still claiming the exemption, homestead exemption, and they were still renting it out. So my question is, I mean, and I totally agree, and I'm okay with everything that you're proposing, that, let's look at it, because it's going to change every year. Every year, something's going to come out different. And the biggest one that I keep looking at is Austin, Texas, and the way they're fighting and having to go to court and so forth. But do we even have the authority as far as enforcing the homestead law, or does Bexar County have that?
I appreciate the question. I think that's a legal question, so I was going to ask
Yeah,
our
I'm
attorney
asking-
to,
I mean, I was
please,
gonna-
yeah,
I was gonna- I
okay.
was
I
gonna
just
turn
want,
to him.
that's why we
No,
have him
we
here.
don't, but
Yeah.
but the thing to consider with respect to an STR and the homestead exemption and how those things interplay is that, remember, the STR ordinances for very short-term stays. Homestead exemptions are for primary residences. So they're not necessarily inconsistent to have a primary residence and rent it out on a short-term, and rent your place out on a short-term basis. If you're renting out your house for 12 months out of the year, that cannot be your primary residence, right? But on a short-term basis, I would just say that I understand the question. They're not necessarily inconsistent, but there's going to be a lot of, but if someone is renting it out, maybe, 11 months on an STR basis, out of the 12 months, there'd be a good argument to the question. We don't have jurisdiction to make that determination, but it is possible for there to be both the homestead and the STR use on a piece of property.
And then I just want to add, we reached out to the county to get, how do you report fraudulent, for them to look into it, and I provided y'all that information in a city manager's update 2 months back. And so they were very clear on where you report violations or perceived violations, and they would look into it.
Very interesting. In my neighborhood, there's a gentleman who has a short-term rental. He's not registered. He's on VRBO. Clearly, you can see his home. And I asked him, why do you have a homestead exemption? He says, well, we consider that our second home. And, now they put it under an LLC company. The largest home, the one that sleeps 26, is under an LLC company. It's kind of beyond me, but I don't know the legal requirements, but it's beyond me how an LLC can qualify for.
So you can take that information and submit it to the county, and then the county would look into it.
Right.
Okay, so, okay.
I agree.
So, yes.
Councilor Marsh, go ahead.
The piece that I found most interesting was the comparison with other cities. And I think there's a lot of good information on here of additional things that you haven't mentioned that may need revisions or adoptions in terms of changes in our registration fee, and particularly the occupancy restrictions in terms of keeping the occupancy in line with the number of bedrooms and that type of thing. I thought that was, and with having a maximum, I think that was very, very helpful to see what else maybe is needed that we don't currently have, or you're not suggesting yet?
That's
think
why I'm asking for your input.
I think we talked about an inspection way back when, 23, but we didn't do it. Yeah. So, but I noticed that there were quite a number of cities that do require inspections. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I had a question about, I got a call, I think it was in June, about another street that already had a short-term rental, and about 2 doors, it was on a cul-de-sac, 2 doors down they thought was going to be another short-term rental. So the question was, is that within our code that we already have? And so I think Dr. Caldera talked to you about block face. And would you explain block face? And I think you recommended that we needed to add a definition of block face.
All right, there was a provision in your STR that says that you can't have within 200 feet on the same block face,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But block face is not defined in the code,
Right.
which is fine for most streets because they're straight. But what happens when you've got a little bump out or a cul-de-sac street? We don't define then, and a lot of codes do. They have a definition of what a block face is, where you would keep that same line, but that's a weakness in the ordinance that we talked about trying to firm up. And particularly on streets that intersect, that have the cul-de-sac, where there are two different now numbering conventions that are different, it adds a little bit to the confusion of what a block face is on that. Did that answer your question, Mayor?
Yeah, but you said you would still recommend that we would add a definition.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That would be something that I would ask that we consider. All right. Anyone else and then I'll open it up to our chamber. Yes, Council.
How many
Councilwoman
cars come with 26
Heil.
people at the house? And is it just a party house is what it becomes?
It has not been a party house.
Okay.
Okay, this is not something that happened some years ago. We had one home in our 27-home area where they did have a party, and there was about 50 people there. But this one says it sleeps 26 people, okay? But that party was then reported to the platform of Airbnb, and they're non-tolerant of that. And that particular home is no longer on the Airbnb platform. But I don't know what other platforms they're on.
Should there be something about how many cars are allowed?
That I'll leave up to my colleagues. In that sleeps 26. I've counted as many as 12 cars in the driveway. Okay. It's a big piece of property. There's no doubt. It's basketball court, tennis court that rival our courts in the park.
Really?
Right.
And 12 cars can park in their driveway?
Wow. Yeah. There's 4 trash cans, okay, and bags of trash because this one is rented multiple times per week.
Multiple times per. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So let me open it up to anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council. Please come forward. And do you agree we need to add to the ordinance or not, and what? So let's hear from you. Hi, Maria. How are you this evening?
Fine, thanks.
Good to see you.
Maria Gamboa on Forest Meadow. How do you know that somebody does have a B&B? Because, when I moved into the street that I live in, I moved in there because my aunt lived 5 houses down. So I waited. I rented and then waited till somebody sold for me to buy a house on that same street. She now has died maybe 2-3 years ago. So the house is very dear to me when I pass through there every day. So I look and I see a different car. And not just one car, but different cars. So how do I know if that's a Airbnb or not?
I was going to say.
So
don't
that's
we have
kind of a
regis-
hole in the whole ordinance and the argument that we've had over the last, I mean, this will be the 18th time as your city manager that we've discussed short-term rentals. So the enforcement piece. So currently right now you have approximately 30 Airbnbs or short-term rentals in Leon Valley and only 10 are registered. And that's because I had code enforcement and Mr. Salinas kind of try to do an audit. However, some of the addresses are kind of hard to come up with, so I don't know a way to really notify them that they need to register. So there's a hole in the registration situation as it is. Then if we find somebody that is in violation, there is not really an enforcement piece. I mean, there's enforcement as far as being in violation of the code. They can be issued a cease and desist or a citation if they've just popped up an Airbnb, didn't register, and they're within 200 feet and they're not supposed to be operating as an Airbnb. So those would be the two options either, and the attorney can provide more if there's more, but it's either a violation of the code, so it's an ordinance violation, so they'll be issued a citation, and or the city could send them a cease and desist letter saying that they can't operate as a short-term rental. So those are your two options if we discover one. The problem is we don't have a reporting mechanism, and I don't have the staff to constantly be looking and searching Airbnb and VRBO to see who's on there and going back and forth to see if they've registered. We're having to search two sites, and Airbnb and VRBO, because they protect privacy, do not provide those lists to municipal governments. They only provide the taxes. And so I would need staff to be looking monthly, quarterly, to constantly be seeing what short-term rentals are popping up. So you just got to figure out how you would like to address that. And you may get recommendations from the city attorney on a good way to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was just going to say the third party providers that monitor VRBO and the others are extremely expensive.
They are.
I mean, STRs is not only an issue here, it's an issue in every city I represent. So, and we have cities that actually utilize, and I can't even remember the name of the
HCL. So originally we had looked at, and I don't know, former Councilor Martinez is here. He had sat in one of the representations, so we looked at them, and they're very expensive. So the $21,000 that you're currently getting would go straight to them in order for them to try to enforce your short-term rental. There would be, so it's just a matter of how you
And
want
we
to
have a
handle that.
registration fee, but is that just on the honor system?
So unless we catch them. Mm-hmm. And so we caught a few, and we'll send them letters saying, hey, you need to come and register. Mm-hmm. The problem then becomes if we tell them to come and register, and then there's one already registered within 200 feet, and we tell them no, and they say, okay, no, Airbnb, it's not a violation of their policy, so they won't remove them from their site. They can continue to operate. So the enforcement piece of that isn't really there other than me issuing a citation. And so if they pay a $500 citation, do they make more in their short-term rental than the $500 citation, if that makes any sense? Mm-hmm.
So a homeowner in the area could report them on leonvalley.gov,
yes.
right?
So if you have, if you find them on Airbnb and you know the address or they're in your neighborhood, you could report us. We will send a letter through code enforcement, reach out to them, tell them they need to register, and then we would look up whether or not they are in compliance. We have told people no, they're not in we had one come in after the fact, we caught them, they were reported, we reached out to them, told them, nope, sorry, you can't operate as a short-term rental, and as far as we know, as of to date, they're not operating as a short-term rental. We haven't seen them on any sites or anything,
Right.
so.
Very good. So 30 in our community.
There's roughly 30 with 10 registrations, yes.
Mr. Martinez, come on up. And thank you for being here. And you have up to 3 minutes. Good evening and welcome.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Benny Martinez, Seneca. When I was on council, in fact, the short-term rental is one of the items that I pushed from the very beginning, and I fought to get this ordinance passed, and with the help of Councilor Campos. But there was mentioned HDL companies is a company that aggressively goes out and looks for the short-term rentals. And it was said that there's 30 in this town. So, they charge a percentage. And, really, I think the council really needs to look at, contact HDL, and there's other companies, and find out if it's really beneficial to contract with them. If they charge us 10 or 20%, and instead of 10, they're collecting money on 30, it's worth it. So you can't really, kind of, have blinders on. I support what Councilor Campos wants to do with the property tax. If you're not living there and you're renting your house out, you shouldn't have homestead exemption. But I've been in favor of this ordinance for quite a while, and I would like to see it improved and made better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Amir, I just want to make a clarification. So we're getting all the tax dollars. Like, that was done by the ordinance you passed. HGL wouldn't be doing any more benefit to you. We collect all the sales tax for the 30 properties. They're just not registered. They're not all registered with us. And so that's the difference. We collect all the tax dollars for them all, but they just haven't come in and registered with the city. So I just want to make that clear.
So when you get the sales tax, there's not a listing?
No, ma'am.
Oh.
You get one check, $1
Oh,
check.
just one check?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Councilor Campos.
So the reason why it's important to make sure everybody's registered is that how do you then tell that this property right here, and now you have a next door neighbor and you have two in a row? Because they were never registered. The city wasn't aware that it wasn't within so many feet. And that's what I'm trying to get at. And because there's more and more popping up quite a bit. And in my area, I've lived in my neighborhood for about 33 years. And we've all been together for a long time, but now people are retiring and they're swooping these properties up. And I'm sure it's going to happen in some other large properties within Leon Valley. But they're also happening in the smaller, residential areas. So that's why I want to move this update.
Okay. All right. So anybody else? Mr. Hefner, I know you came tonight to speak on this issue, and welcome back.
I'm going to ask the council's indulgence if you don't mind being lenient with the time. I will not exhaust your evening, but this is a topic that's very important to me. I've lived in in Leon Valley for over 10 years now. I own 2 properties here, one of which is an Airbnb. I'm very knowledgeable on this topic, and I think many of the proposed changes from Mr. Campos are problematic, and there's a lot of reasons why. So first and foremost, I want to make myself a resource to any of you as you consider these. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'll happily have conversations with you that we don't have time for tonight about the concerns I have with many of these. First and foremost, if you own a property, well, first I want to address the homestead exemption thing. If you own a property and you go on vacation, let's say you want to take a cruise for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. There are a lot of people who will use their property, rent it out while they're on that cruise to defray the cost of their vacation. Property owners have that right in our nation. Property ownership and private property rights are a foundation of our system of government. And what we're really talking about is disenfranchising property owners from using their property how they see fit. At the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. And I understand Mr. Campos' concerns about his particular neighborhood. And there's a beautiful house that looks like a castle on the outside. It's been on the market for over a year. And he's concerned that will become a short-term rental in addition to the one that's down at the end of his cul-de-sac. I get it. I understand. I would challenge the need for this. This council is very busy. You guys have a lot of things on your plate. And I guess, Dr. Caldera, do you know how many complaints have been received against short-term rentals in the last 2 years?
So I don't have necessarily the number of complaints. The last one that I know of is the Linda Meffert situation when they came to council is the last complaint that I'm aware of.
So that's a great example, and I'm glad you brought it up, Mr. Campos, because that particular property is an excellent example of how the market, the free market, can address issues that are not acceptable and address those in a way that doesn't require government involvement. In that case, the exact same thing I told you, and what you did was you referred that property to Airbnb. You said it was a party house, which violates their terms of use. They delisted that property, right? So that property, in its life, once a property is delisted on these platforms, it doesn't matter if it changes ownership, it can never go back onto the platform. That's the way these platforms work. So that property will never be listed again on Airbnb. Now, yes, there are many other platforms. Airbnb handles 85% of the market share of the short-term rental market. Set that aside. When you impose a arbitrary distance requirement, you're saying that if anybody purchases a property within 200 feet of another existing Airbnb or short-term rental of any kind, that now they can't use that property as they see fit. That's really concerning, and then to my mind, a government overreach. I would beg the council's indulgence.
I'll give you another minute. Go ahead.
So Dr. Caldera mentioned there's 10 that are registered out of 30 that we believe are in the city. The vast majority of the revenue that this city gets comes from the hot tax that is collected by these platforms. The registration is $25 every 2 years. And if there are 20 properties that are non-compliant, even if you got all of those properties, that's $500 every 2 years in additional revenue. That's like 4 bookings for me, right, in terms of the amount of taxes I pay. So you get far more tax from Airbnb collecting that hot tax revenue on your behalf than you do from the registration side of things. And so there are very economical tools. AirDNA is a great example. It's $50 a month. So that would be $600 a year. If the city really wants to go and pursue stuff specifically in our zip codes, go for it. So I'll summarize. I appreciate, Mayor, your indulgence.
Go ahead.
I think you use existing laws to address nuisances and noncompliance, whether it's parking, whether it's trash. There are existing laws on the books that you can use to address noncompliance. That said, would you want your home, if you had, let's say, some family members come over for Thanksgiving and you had a lot of parking in your driveway, would you want the law to then treat you like you can't have a certain number of cars? People have big families. With a shortage of housing, affordable housing is an issue, and people continue to live together intergenerationally. That's a concern if you start having unequal treatment for short-term versus long-term rentals. The existing paths for tax reporting exist. Use that to report noncompliance. Don't disenfranchise property owners by saying they cannot use their property in a legal way. And then lastly, I am a resource for you. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I know for a fact that Mr. Orozco, Ms. Bolton, you guys have my number. I'm pretty sure, Philip, you have my number. Feel free to reach out to me. Ms. Heil, Ms. Marsh, or Mr. Marsh, I'm sorry. I'll happily connect with you afterwards if you have questions, and I'll share my experience as well as give you contacts for other Airbnb owners in the city. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments this evening. Okay, so how would you like to proceed?
So
Because we can do some kind of voting tonight. I don't know if anybody has a motion or what, so I just want to get clarification.
So from what I can hear from the majority of y'all sitting up here that did speak this evening, y'all are okay with some of the recommendations Mr. Campos made. What we can do is I can have the city attorney draft amendments to our current short-term rental ordinance, and we can present those at the next council meeting, or a future council meeting. It depends on how, I don't know, Art's schedule.
Oh, we had some more people that wanted to, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. So, very good. I'm sorry?
I'm shrinking.
Uh-oh. Well, thank you. So,
It happens. Okay.
all right.
I just
Go ahead.
wanted to comment on a couple of things.
Okay.
Mr. Hefner.
And that's Tina
had-
Chasen
yeah. Tina
okay.
Chasen.
All right,
Forest
very
Oaks.
good. Thank you, Tina.
I've lived here 54 years, and stabilization of the neighborhood is very important to me. I understand being Military City, people move in, people move out, but they're usually here for a year to 3 years. I have a neighbor across the street who's moving back next month who went and did his last year of residency with the VA in Virginia.
Okay.
And now he's moving back. On my street of 40 homes, on my street, there are 3 LLCs, Airbnbs, short-term rentals. My problem and my issue, when you rent to someone through this agency, let's just say you have a child predator that wants to rent, but he gets his friend who has a clean record to rent the place, and then they throw parties or do whatever. I am a safe house on my street for the children. They know that if a car drives slowly or they get lost or it starts to rain and they need your mom, they come to me. What assurances do we have that these short-term rental people, all of them, if you have 26, you're going to have them all vetted? No, they only vet the ones that rent. And if they're clear, they're clear. That's one issue. The other one is what Mr. Campos had said was about utilizing the homestead on properties. If you own 2 properties, 3 properties, I don't care. The one you are residing in is your homestead, not the other ones. And I think that's very important and should not be overlooked by the council. And that's basically it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for those comments. All right. Yes, we'll continue. Mr. Campos, what would you like to say?
What was interesting when I looked at the Airbnb is that didn't have the bulk of the listings in Leon Valley. It was the RVBO that popped up the majority.
VRBO?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It was incredible. And so while that may be the leading site, that's not what's being used here in Leon Valley, that for the bulk of them.
But we do collect sales tax for both. And so if you decide to go with the company and they take 10%, that 21,000 you saw earlier, they would take 10% of that for them to provide you an address listing for you to collect $25 per location, if that makes that's why I'm saying, like, those companies, we're collecting all the taxes on their homes. They're not going to give us more money on that front. They would only be taking from what you're already collecting. But that may be worth it to y'all. Y'all may want to pay 10% of that so you know what short-term rentals exist here.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Marsh, thank you.
Well, I think we're also overlooking the fact that some people may be leasing, or I'm going to say leasing, even though that's not the right word, them out through Facebook Marketplace, and nobody's monitoring that, and they're not helping us get any of the taxes on those things. So knowing that a short-term rental is operating may be the first step to help us get other things. And going back to this $25, I think that's one of the first things that should change, because it shouldn't be $25. It should be $125 or whatever. And I know that's not a revenue stream, but I think it needs to be something that's enough to get their attention. And if they don't register, then they need to be penalized. And whether it's with a citation that has a $500 fine or something else. But I do think that not everything is Airbnb or VRBO, and there's other mechanisms to lease those out.
There are, but those companies aren't looking at Facebook Marketplace. Those are like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Let It Go. There are listings on there, but those companies really aren't looking at those. They're looking Expedia and some of the larger sites. They're trying to get the mass majority, and the big component of those companies is to get the sales tax dollars. That's how they offset the cost. You're already getting the majority of your hotel motel tax dollars in regards to that. But if you would like to utilize one of those companies, Mr. Hefner mentioned one when he was up here, they will give you the addresses for a small fee. So that's something we can look at. It's been a while since I've looked at those companies, so we can certainly investigate that if that's something the council's interested in doing, getting some quotes for that. I just want to make sure you're not giving away the farmhouse for a chicken, so.
Okay, did you want to conclude? Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward to have, as I mentioned, the next steps, of the stuff that we've discussed here, and there may be more as you think about it a little bit more during the next time we meet, and start moving toward having the staff develop through, I guess, our attorney, an updated ordinance.
We'll make the amended changes as suggested, we'll forward it to the attorney to make sure. Short-term rentals, because there's a lot of case law and stuff like that, that's one of the ordinances I'm not comfortable with just shooting out to y'all. So we'll make the amended changes as discussed and send it to the attorney for review.
Okay, do we need a second? And second by Mr. Orozco. So we have a motion by Councilor Campos and a second by Councilor Orozco to forward to the city attorney what we heard today on amending the short-term rental ordinance. Any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I did
go
want to
ahead.
get a legal opinion on the 300 feet that Mr. Campos, are we authorized to do that? Mr. Hefter came up with a good point as well, and I just wanted to see if we're legally capable of doing something like that.
Yes, in the process, I do intend to provide you all with attorney-client communications with respect to the legality of some of these items that are being proposed. And I'll do that with depending on what changes we're talking about.
Yeah, because some of the cities on the list are currently in active cases.
Right, and I mean, I'll just say that you mentioned on the slide, 2021 was when y'all first began looking at it, and right now is the only, we're now beginning to see the legal, the case law from all those that were adopted back in 2021, right? I mean, and so I will say this, is that it's a very fluid area of the law still. There's not a lot of bright line tests that we can talk here. However, the one that we can talk about is a bright line test, is that STRs are legal in residential communities, period. Now, where is the legality and how we can regulate them is now where we're looking at. So yes, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on, I went off a little bit, but yes.
So we'll have an executive
yes.
session then before we actually
adopt
the ordinance. Yes, Councilor Mersch.
My question is there any education, or how is a potential owner of a property supposed to know what our codes are and whatever if they already have the intention of making it a short-term rental? Are we doing any education? Are we dealing with realtors to let them know about our rules?
So every city is different. Chevenel Park don't allow short-term rentals at all, and they're going to have to amend their code because now the law came out that you're required to allow some version of it. So every city is different. City of San Antonio has different regulations. Bernie has different regulations. San Marcos has different regulations because every city has its unique needs when it comes to short-term rentals. And you have main streets and downtowns, and New Braunfels has its own set of rules as well. And so it is the owner's responsibility to do the research before they buy a property to determine what the rules and regulations are. Now, we do put stuff in the Lions Roar and put stuff in E-News, but there are over, I don't even know, like 100,000 realtors in the city of San Antonio. I mean, to try to educate them would be crazy. And so, but we do provide information on our website, and anytime we adopt anything new, we sent out postcards to everybody. When we did the registration, we sent out in Lions Roar. So we do communications, but it is the owner's responsibility, just like it is the developer's responsibility, to make sure they look up the rules and regulations for that city in regards to whatever it is they want to do with their property.
Do we provide them during registration?
The rules for short-term rentals, yes, but right now they just get the ordinance piece when they register. But if they're registering, they've read the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hefner. I'll tell you what, everybody's had their say, and so I usually don't go back to a second time. But what I would encourage you to do is just email the council with your concerns, and then we'll go from there. So thank you, I do appreciate it. All right. Anything else? So I think we have a motion and a second. Well, we did a motion and a second. Oh, all those in favor? Yeah, I didn't take the vote. All those in, any further discussion? Y'all had further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Okay, thank you. Really appreciate y'all's input tonight, and we'll go from there. So All right. The last agenda item is agenda item 7.4, discussion and possible action regarding dog tethering. And this was requested by Councilor Bolton and Mayor Pro Tem Heil. And Councilor Bolton, I'm not sure if you'd like to start the discussion on this, since I know we have the definition of tethering.
If you would like, I
in
can provide
the-
a little
in the-
context, Ms. Bolton. Go ahead. So I did include the City of Leon Valley's dog tethering ordinance into the packet. So for future reference, anytime a council person wants to address an item, you just provide whatever changes you would like to that ordinance. But so it came up during our retreat that the City of San Antonio outlaws tethering of dogs. That's not necessarily true. They outlaw use of chain. And so in our ordinance, it just says primary use of chain. And so the council may want to consider outlawing a dog being tethered by chain. So you might want to remove the word chain, would be, if you want to be in line with this, if that was the goal, is to be in line with the City of San Antonio's tethering ordinance. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Bolton.
I personally would, and we'll have to discuss it, but I would prefer them not to be tethered at all. I mean,
Correct.
honestly.
I agree.
There's no reason to have something tied to where it can't have water and it can't get out of the sun, things like that. I feel very strongly about it.
And this is with a fence around the dog, I'm assuming? Is that what you're opposed to?
Yes, well, sometimes you see them tied up in the front yard, and I
Yeah.
don't understand why. Maybe they don't have a fence, I don't know. But I just can't imagine in any way, what if something happened, and an animal's trapped? Even with the flood in Kerrville, if there were animals that were tethered, they couldn't have gotten away. If they weren't tied up, they might have been able to run. I mean, it just seems like that goes against an animal's natural instincts to be able to protect itself.
Okay, yes, Council Heil.
Plus, if they're tethered in the front yard, another animal can attack them.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's part of the problem. So they shouldn't be tethered at all.
I agree.
People can walk their dogs.
Is there, Mayor?
Yes,
Is there
Councilor
a particular
Orozco.
case that you guys came across that we should know about, or some dog or is being abused? How
Roque,
did
can
this
you
come about?
pull up the PDF for that, please?
Thank you.
The PDF, pull up the packet from the council agenda, go to that item, and it would be the first PDF in that packet, so they can see what I'm talking
Right,
about.
so if they're not tethered, but they need to be on a leash, right? In that we have a leash law.
Well, so you have a leash law. If you read our tethering ordinance, it says that a dog can be tethered, and the primary use can't be by chain or weights, and there's some provisions, but they still have to have adequate food and water. So if we go back there and they're tethered and there's not food or water, but that even goes for dogs that are untethered. They have to have shelter, water. There's certain requirements in having, animals in your backyard or outside. And so animals are allowed to be outside 24/7. You're not required to bring your dog inside. And so some people, because dogs bite through fences or they have maybe a dilapidated fence, they do tie their dog up outside. And the chain can't be more than 10 feet. And our code aligns with the state law, with the exception of the chain piece. There's been some conversation of whether or not to allow a chain altogether. Ours says primary chain, primary use of chain. Keep scrolling. Stop. Go up. Go up. Go up. Go up. There, and then just hit the big button, the big plus button, to make it bigger so they can read it. And so this is fastening animals. So it says no animal shall be hitched, tied, or fastened by any tying device and must wear a properly fitted collar and harness made of leather, nylon, not a choker type. Any owner may not tether an unattended animal outside by use of restraint that is composed primarily of chain. And so the chain piece, if I remember correctly, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, the state law says that you shouldn't be using chain, and the city of San Antonio has removed chain from their ordinance.
Okay.
Has weights attached and is not attached to a properly fitted collar harness. No person shall tether their dog using a collar exceeding 1 1/2 inches wide, weigh less than 60 pounds. Dogs weighing 60 pounds or more shall not be tethered. So there's requirements here, and they must have shelter, clean water, dry ground, shade from direct sunlight. A person shall not tether their animal while tying a device or weighs more than 1/10 of the animal's body weight. No person shall tether a puppy, sick, injured animal. In accordance with Texas Safety Code, an owner may not leave the dog outside for unintended restraints and reasonably limits dog's movement in case of extreme weather conditions. So the parameters are there, and this is pretty close to the city of San Antonio, with the exception of the chain piece. I want to say COSA just says no use of chain. I don't think they can use any chain. I'd have to go back and look that up. We did update this in 2019, but the Safe Dog Act did take into place in 2022, 2021.
Yeah, it was around there.
Around that time frame. And so it doesn't outlaw chains completely. So ours was still in compliance. That's why we didn't bring it back, because it says can't be used primarily of chain. The Safe Dog Act 2021 allows some chain in the argument. So again, it's just something for you to consider. If you want to remove and making it completely outlaw tethering, you certainly can do that. That I'm aware of.
The Safe Dog Act, the tethering provision is 10 feet or 5 times the length of the dog,
Okay.
whichever is greater.
Okay, so,
This first read.
no, there's not,
It's not a read, it's just
not
a
a read,
discussion
it's a discussion,
of
or
whether how
if you
y'all
want
would
to,
like-
if you want to give direction, through a motion, you could do that as well.
Well, I would at least like to make sure that it states that no chain should be used. I would also like to have some kind of provision in it that I know it says dry ground and shade from direct sunlight at all times. What about any kind of a shelter during storms? We have animals in my neighborhood that I know that during the middle of the thunderstorms and stuff, they had puppies and they were outside and they did not have any shelter, and those people were not home. When I called animal control and they finally went by the next day, they couldn't reach anybody, and they said, well, we can't go in their yard. One of the puppies died, and it just, because I hear them crying all the time, I know that this is going on. All I have to do is walk to my backyard and I can see into their yard and see what's going on. I would like to have a little bit more owner, I guess, being responsible for things, taking care of their animals. If you're going to have an animal, you need to make sure that you're taking care of it properly, you know?
So G would technically prevent that, and I'm not sure who told you that we couldn't go in the backyard. If there is
Your dog catcher person.
if there is a safety issue in regards to animals, technically a police officer could enter in regards to that. We've done it in the past. So
I'll
that
get you
was-
the name. I have it at home because I was very upset.
So yeah, if you get me the name, that person may not be here anymore. I don't know.
I don't think he is. But.
But yes, and so you may have the provisions, and sometimes maybe the city staff fails to read it, or we fail to act. So my apologies on that front. But this code, as far as weather and shelter, address those concerns.
Okay.
Right, in fact, there used to be a 24-hour wait period for you to be able to go and to enter the property. And the Safe Dog Act, which is referenced there in item G, eliminated that. So if it's an exigent circumstance, you can enter the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so,
Then I would like to make a motion that we at least add the no chain to be in compliance with San Antonio's policy.
I'd second that.
okay, so that's the one change you want in this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, if the adequate shelter covers what I was also concerned about, then that's
You
fine.
want to remove the word chain in the,
No person,
ordinance.
I would like to add, I'm sorry, I'll be more specific. A person shall not tether using a chain.
Tying device.
Or tying device, tying device, and then I guess parentheses, chain that weighs more than 1/10 of the animal's body weight. Is that sufficient?
Or do we want to add no chain?
I mean,
So I can.
Can we do that?
We can bring back something.
Yeah, so no, we can add a no chain portion to it, if you would if that's what you would like. we
I
could
would
just-
prefer no chain.
Okay.
Okay, you have citizen input before we make the.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
You bet.
Tina Chase in Forest Oaks. I have been an animal advocate and worked both in San Antonio and with Leon Valley for almost 50 years on animal rescue and the rights of animals to be cared for, protected, and loved. Now, I am in favor of no tethering. I have neighbors that have a fence that's broken down and their dogs repeatedly got out. Leon Valley took care of that for me. I didn't want to see them killed. They are now out of state up north. These people go out and get more dogs. If you're going to do that, then you should say, well, if you're going to register your dog in Leon Valley and pay the $5 or whatever it is, then you should have the ability then to have a safe, enclosed yard. Now, if you don't want to make the repairs on your privacy fencing all around, then have a protected dog run. But I am in favor of no tethering, no chains, no ropes, no nothing. And that's just my input from years, decades of experience.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So you've heard from Ms. Chase, and anything else? I mean, did y'all want to? Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's what the first sentence says, no animal shall be hitched, tied, or fastened by any tying device. So is that saying they cannot be?
No.
Okay.
That's saying, and must wear a properly fitted collar harness made of leather, nylon, not a choker type. The collar or harness must have, the fastening of dogs is still fastening of dogs. It's still allowing you to tether your dogs, but giving you parameters in which to do it for the animal safely. If you don't want it at all, then we would just amend this provision to say no tethering allowed in the city of Leon Valley. You may get people out here complaining about that, but you could amend the ordinance to that effect, as far as I know. I mean, the city attorney can weigh in on that.
Okay, I'm just concerned about loose dogs in the neighborhood. You know, I'd rather them be in the backyard, and but I've seen them in the front yard. I understand. There's one right across from the school, at the elementary school, that's in the front. Yeah, go ahead. That's in the city of San Antonio.
If we
though.
eliminate tethering,
Counselor
we
Mersch.
should add a statement that there must be a secured, fenced dog run or, secured fence. We need to say what should be there as well as what shouldn't be there to stop the loose dogs and whatever.
So you scroll down real quick. Keep going to the next. Hold on, stop. No person may restrain a dog by a tether that is less than 10 feet. Okay, go down to the next one. So I pulled out anywhere that referenced tethering. Go down, keep going to the other highlighted. I try to highlight so we can get there quickly. Going, a primary form of restraining a dog shall not be tethering. So the primary restraint can't be just tethering. Which means they should have another form of restraint, which is typically a fence. So they have to have a fence. But some people want to segregate a dog to a particular part of their yard. Like they don't want them roaming the whole yard or jumping on their lawn furniture, or I've heard it all over the years. And so that may be why somebody tethers a dog. Or they have kids over and they want to keep a dog on one side of the yard and the kids to play on that. So we've seen different versions of why people want to continue tethering. But again, it's up to y'all what y'all would like to do.
Well, I don't think that says anything about a fence. So I agree that I don't want to tether, but I'd like them to be, within their back fence. I'm a walker every morning, and I mean, let me tell you, having a loose dog chasing you that's out of control is very scary, and I've been attacked twice in the neighborhood, and I don't like that.
I thought it said somewhere, I don't think it said in fence, I thought it said enclosure. I think there's something somewhere in here that talks about enclosure.
Right. Mr. Hefner, go ahead, come on up. You haven't you need to weigh in on this too as well.
I don't
Thank
need to
you.
weigh in, but I wrote a big part of this with Counselor
Stevens?
No, it was before my time, before I was even on council. What was his name? No?
No.
Anyway, guy lives on El Verde.
Cody.
Hody, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, so what you're really looking for when you look into this piece of the ordinance is there are two key elements, roam versus run at large. And there are requirements around when a animal of any kind, dogs, cats, whatever, can roam versus run at large, and it really has to do with the property. If you have a really well-trained dog, they can sit in your front yard without a leash as long as they don't leave your front yard. So there's roam and run at large, what you're talking about. And if you have a good fence and it keeps the dog in, great. If you don't have a well-trained dog and they get out of your fence, then it's very easy for them to run outside of your property, at which case the existing law can be used for compliance. In fact, Roque and Ms. Caldera were near my property a week ago dealing with a dog that had gotten out. So totally understand that. But it's in our existing ordinance. I live in a place where it's not feasible, not financially feasible to fence my entire property. And so when my family have fostered dogs, by the way, shameless plug, Charming Pet Rescue in Bernie, they're a no-kill shelter. They take dogs, so if the city has additional dogs, they need to foster them. But when we foster dogs, we don't really have a way to let them out to go to the bathroom without using some sort of tether. We don't have a fence on our property. So, there's parts in here that says may not be unattended, right? Obviously, my kids, they're going out there, they're hooking them up so they don't run off, but they're letting them go use the bathroom, and they're out there with them. So, again, the existing ordinance in most cases addresses these problems. The challenge is enforcement. How do we enforce it more effectively with what's on the books?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Gamboa, and then Ms. Counselor Marsh.
On Forest Meadow. I'm concerned right now with everything that's going on. I have two dogs, and we're completely fenced in, and it's very secure, so they can get out in the yard. They never get out. However, sometimes when we're going out, we open the kitchen door or the front door, and if we have the bay open or they get out the front door, we chase them right away. Because the dog that we got from the rescue, they found him on the street, so I'm sure that dog was always out wandering around. So now I'm trying anyway to train him to sit before I open the door. But he does, when he has a chance, he goes out. But I want to say we go out and we go immediately to find him. So that's one of the things I'm concerned with what's going on, because I don't want to lose my dog, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Counselor Marsh.
So I think that the enclosure or the fencing comments need to say intact and, secure, because like you say, if they don't keep up the fence, then the dog's going to get out and they say, but I have a fence. I think that it's very problematic with how our code enforcement has to personally see the dog out. It's not enough for a neighbor to take a picture of them that they're out or that they're in your yard or whatever. And code enforcement can't be everywhere. So the likelihood that they're actually going to see that dog out because the owners have holes in their fences or the dogs dig under the fences or whatever is zip to doodah. And so I really feel like there needs to be enforcement of an intact fence if you have a dog, so that we at least have that documented, that it's not just an enclosure, but a secured enclosure, or, I don't know what the right words are, but I think our possibilities of code enforcement catching a dog that's gotten out of their fence is very minimal with the way that they have to do it now.
Okay, thank
you. So just for clarification, there is other sections. So you have the whole animal control division section in your code. You also have the property maintenance code too, and there's provisions in the property maintenance code that require animals to be in a secured enclosure. I wasn't referencing fencing and keeping an animal contained. The question was whether or not to have tethering or not.
Right.
So I didn't print out all the sections of the animal code. So there are sections in the code that require animals to be in a secured enclosure. I just have to find it.
Okay.
It's in a separate section. It's just not part of the components I printed this evening, because that wasn't the question. The question was whether or not to allow an animal to be tethered was was the conversation.
It's in 2.01 of your
Oh, there you
code of
go.
ordinances.
There you go.
Yes, Counselor Bolton, thank you.
No problem. I also have a dog that, if you open the door, he takes off. And I've had to, because he's a big whiny baby, and if I go out front to do yard work, he has a heart attack and screams and freaks out. I have put him on a lead to where I know he can't get away from me, but I am outside with him. To me, that's different than having him just out there by himself. I would never leave him alone for any long period of time. I take him inside when I go to the bathroom. I do. So this is something that I'm just trying to prevent animals that are not being cared for, not to enforce if your dog gets out and you're chasing him down the street, because trust me, I live in fear that a car is going to come around that turn and my dog's going to be in the street. So it's something that my entire life we've had dogs that have done this, so I've had to deal with. But I don't want to make it harder on our citizens. What I want is to make sure that people who are not taking care of their dogs are held accountable. That's all.
Okay. All right. So do you want to restate what you'd like direction to be on this agenda item that you requested?
I think that I would like to maybe revisit this after we have an opportunity after I have a chance to read through the entire thing to make sure that I get the verbiage exactly how I would like it.
Okay.
If that's
We can put it back
possible.
on. So
Yeah.
just for reference, in the code, because I went to it real quick, it says secure enclosure, a fenced area that is locked, capable of preventing the entry of the general public, including children, capable of preventing the escape and release of the dog, clearly marked as containing a dangerous dog, in conformance with the requirements for the enclosure established by the city. And so it is part of your animal code of ordinances already. It's just in a it's not with this particular section, it's just with the other section of owning animals.
Okay. So I hear, Counselor Bolton, that you'd like to table this?
Please.
And do more research, and then you'll bring it back at a later date. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
So she's withdrawing her motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Withdrawing her motion, Ms. Howell will withdraw her second. Okay, sounds good. All right, anything else? All right, very good, thank you. All right, agenda item number 8, request from members of City Council to add items to future agendas. Is there anyone on the council that would like to? I've had an issue because I've had several councilwomen, and I've already talked to Dr. Caldera about this.
It's on there.
I think I have at least 2, and I believe it's Counselor Bolton and Counselor Mersch, and I'm not sure about Counselor Heil, but I've got a paper packet, and they would like a paper packet, but it's costly and timely and all this, and I thought, well, let's just discuss it. I mean, it's not, I think we need to reflect the will of the majority of the council, so.
So
anyway.
would y'all like to add that so I do want I want it to be on record if
Yeah,
y'all decide
I
to
know.
go back in time and go back to paper packets, because,
Well,
I mean, I get it. I'm just.
you get it. So and rather
But
than
I
just saying no, I thought, let's talk about it, and then we can go for there. If the council doesn't want to.
Who's the first and who's the second?
Well, since I'm
Or
the
you're
one that,
gonna add it?
I'll just add it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just add it because I've talked to Counselor Mersch and I've talked to Counselor Bolton, and I'm not sure about Counselor Heil, but Counselor
about it
Heil, we
before.
did too. So anyway, so there's 3 people that would like a paper packet, and I've got one, and I feel guilty. I'm just telling you. And I said, well, if I have to take it and run it at my law office, I will. But anyway, because I'd like for y'all to be comfortable with what you'd like to. And I know you're saying it's going backwards, so.
It is
I
very
understand.
much going backwards, and
Yeah.
it is expensive. But I'll provide you at the meeting the cost to be able to do the paper packets, what that looks like, what the average cost would be per year to be able to do that. And then the staff would need an industrial colored printer to be able to do that. We can't do it on desktop printers.
Oh, I don't have color.
Yes, but the first complaint I'll get is we can't see the zoning
Well,
code and the.
You can also go back to the computer to get the color. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I do, but I don't have color, and I wouldn't expect,
Okay, so if y'all are good, knowing the parameters, it would be black and
Yeah.
white, the print will be small, You can't blow it up, like, I just want to make sure.
I don't want one.
Well, that becomes the other issue, is that some of y'all will have an updated packet because y'all will have the electronic packet. Sometimes we print and disperse the packet. The numbers change and the information sometimes gets added. So I just want to make sure you understand what you're asking for. And there are some limitations to a paper packet. And so if I'm only going to print packets for 3 and not 2, some people are going to have different information or different page numbers than the other. We already deal with that with the mayor. Sometimes she's like, page 389. I'm like, oh, Mayor, we incited a slide. It's not 382 anymore. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on it. And so we can have the discussion. We'll put it on.
Let's just have the discussion. It's not the end of the world.
No,
for sure.
absolutely not.
And
I just want to make sure.
It doesn't, the majority of the time, it's a complete packet and it's up to date. So I
It's
would
just
say.
counterintuitive.
And one of the reasons you gave us computers is so we could do that. We could have the computers.
Yeah, I
And
know.
all of us had our computers and we use them.
Right.
I haven't brought mine in the past 2 meetings, but,
Yeah.
and there's times that I needed something printed, and I would just call Angela, and
Absolutely.
she'd print it up for me like that.
Right.
And have it done.
Versus printing, I mean, to print 6 packets even for tonight would be 2,200 pages of paper. And so you have Earthwise Living, who you're trying to say, we're trying to take green, tree ordinance, and then we're going through a whole box of paper once a month. I mean, to me, it's just counterintuitive. But again, we can have the discussion and I can give you all cost-benefit analysis of what that looks like.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so if there's no further discussion, then we will move to adjourn at 9:34 without objection on July 15th. Take care. We'll see you on August the 5th at the next council meeting, but we do have the coffee on July 26th at 9 o'clock at the conference center. All righty, y'all take care. Be safe.
This is the, okay, yeah.
The CPAC meeting tomorrow night.
I signed all the other ones.
Yeah, I was going to call you, and then I thought, well, I could look up your city phone. But if you're like me, I don't always use my city phone.
I keep it with me when I'm, like,
Oh,
during the day, but I don't share it around.
did I do something wrong?
When I'm at work, yeah, but I can't hear you.
Right, yeah, that's too much. That's right.
Nah, I'm staying with my mom and dad tonight.
It's gonna be raining all the way down 35. I haven't
I
seen
know. I would never tie my dogs out. And you know,
I mean, I did when I, like, I was watching.
Right.
It just is, and so
My sister had surgery today, so I told her I'd take her to the doctor.